Chapter 5894. Wu Li also returned to reality from dementia at this time, but he was even more demented now, standing still not daring to move. The old monk is moody, but his combat power is extremely terrifying. Coming to Wu Li's side, his dirty arms hugged Wu Li's neck directly, and then he said, "Little guy, oh no, you are also an old guy. I think you have a very unique bone, which fits Lao Tzu's eyes. Do you want to follow me in the future?" "You are right." Wu Li didn't dare to breathe, so he nodded frantically. "Think that what the old monk said is right. Don't be afraid, your bones won't come out for 10,000 years, but I sincerely treat you as a son, don't let me down." The old monk dragged Wu Li out of the mountain. Lord Hengmu also got up at this time, his eyes full of shock. "How is this possible? I have already controlled him clearly, so how can I still attack me?" He couldn't figure it out. After he brought these guys out of the willows, he used the altar to turn them all into statues, and then they were enslaved by secret methods. Save it later when you need it and then recover. Why is it recovering now? Everyone else is fine, and the old monk is out of control. And also attacked him. Seeing the other party still carrying Wu Li, he instantly understood. And during the recovery, there is no use for any movement. It seems that something went wrong with the secret method. Thinking of this, he regretted the original choice. All this is because of Wu Li. He shouldn't be selected from Wanlu when he initially selected the target for training. As a result, now because Wu Li is alone, he loses all the games. "Hengmu, you brought up my cheap son very well, so I decided to let you die later." The old monk was still mad. But Wu Li found the point from this sentence. "Son? Who is your son?" But he didn't dare to say it, just complained in his heart. Then he thought about him in detail. Born in a mundane family, my father was a carpenter, and his ancestors had never been a monk for 3 generations. No matter how you plan, I feel that the other party is talking nonsense. But the old monk didn't care. He turned his head to look at Wu Li and said, "Are you not convinced?" Wu Li nodded and shook his head again. If he really gave him an invincible father, he should be happy. Thinking of this, he directly called Dad. "My father is here, please be respected by the children." The old monk was extremely happy when he heard these words, and slapped Wu Li's head with a slap. Wu Li, the master of the universe in the 5 tribulations realm, could bear this, and his figure fell below in a flash. At the same time, he was cursing secretly from the bottom of my heart. This Lao Tzu may not be a good person. Upon seeing this, the old monk took out his crotch and said with a hippie smile, "I'm sorry, I just recovered, I don't have enough strength." After talking about the figure, he followed and picked up Wu Li from scratch. Looking at Wu Li who was half dead, the old monk scratched his crotch again, and in a blink of an eye, he rubbed a black ball. Wu Li half opened his eyes, seeing this scene with all his desire to die. Hastily prevented the old monk from doing anything. But his strength is not as strong as that of the old monk. So I can only shut up and don't eat. Observe, otherwise the old man will lose his temper. The old monk glared, almost scared Wu Li to death, and finally opened his mouth reluctantly. Seeing this, the old monk said, "That's right. From now on I will be your father. If anyone bullies you, you will report my name." Wu Li didn't know whether he was answering the old monk or swallowing the black ball himself. There was something stuck in the throat. Speaking is a bit uncomfortable. However, after that thing turned into a docile force and entered his source, his expression was suddenly overjoyed. A force from the supreme rule began to condense in his origin. This scene also happened in Vietnam. The Wu family of Yu State was only in the middle. The original universe of Wu Li is here. It's just in the air, corresponding to the ground. In his original universe, he began to converge. This is the 6th calamity. Because of a black ball, he actually started to cross the catastrophe. Just a black ball can make him overcome the catastrophe instantly. At this moment, he wanted to eat another black ball. Although it was rubbed from the crotch of the old monk, he wanted to eat it. This 6th calamity is so easy. And it was very easy. Whether it is the supreme tribulation or the amount of tribulation on the body. Wu Li, who had $1 million power, took it down easily. Some are lucky, Some are unlucky, such as the Lord of Constant Wood. Although he controls the two beasts of the left Yehue and the right Eye White. It is a pity that the old monk has not been completely taken down, which is still a disadvantage for him. Shenmu King is entangled with the two war beasts. The Lord of Hengmu can only face the old monk alone. The battle in the valley slowed down after the old monk appeared. Shenmu King's complexion was a bit embarrassing. He was still able to deal with the two war beasts, but after the old monk came out, the situation was a bit difficult to control. Yeah, why didn't you fight? The old monk sat casually on a pile of rocks, and Wu Li stood behind him honestly. Jian Wushuang in the sky can see clearly. He never expected that Wu Li's identity was so complicated. From an abandoned son, he instantly became a key figure in control of the situation. Sometimes, luck is so wonderful. Change again and again. After the two war beasts received the order of the Lord of Constant Wood, they stopped and turned into human forms one after another, standing behind the Lord of Constant Wood. You old thing, I shouldn't get you out of the rescue. The Lord of Hengmu was furious, regretting that he shouldn't have taken the old monk away from the willows, and shouldn't use Wu Li as a pawn. Because of the treasure brought by the Lord of Hengmu, Shenmu King, coupled with these years of investigation, also has a general understanding of this matter. Originally thought that the old monk was with the Lord of Hengmu, now it seems that the old monk is not under Hengmu's control at all. This is to his advantage. It's better than letting the Lord of Hengmu be big alone. Especially when you see that two people are still wrong, this is even better. The outside air is good, I finally let Lao Tzu escape from it, and no one will want to sway me in the future. The old monk slowly stood up, his breath exploded. That powerful divine power vaguely surpassed the Shenmu King. The people in the air were also taken aback. Especially Bulu and Danbao. The two of them don't know much about the outside world. Unexpectedly, just after following Jian Wushuang to leave the infinite world, he would encounter a strong man who was 100 times stronger than Gula. For a time, a little confused. Jian Wushuang is the same. Chapter 5895. He just wanted to enter Wanlu to attack the Tribulation Realm. Now that he became the Lord of the Universe, he actually didn't yearn for Wanlu Shenmu that much. Mainly because of Jiang Shang. I want to see what secrets are contained in Wanlu. Good now. The Lord of Eternal would turned his face and was not ready to enter Wanlu again. Instead, Shenmu Wang pointed out a way for him. He was a little tempted at first, but according to the current development, he no longer wants to enter Wanlu. Not to mention the two big beasts around the Lord of Hengmu. Just say that old monk, that is Wu Li's own father. Divine power is a bit stronger than the peak Shenmu King. He really didn't have the confidence to compete with these old guys. At least not confident now. Just wait for him to go further, maybe it's still possible. Now let's see what these big guys are going to do. Anyway, he cannot reverse the current situation. As the ruler of the ancient Wood continent, Shenmu King has the aura of an innate king, no matter how powerful the old monk is or how perverse his personality is. After seeing the current situation clearly, he took the initiative to stand up. Everyone, since you said that you escaped from Wanlu, you wouldn't have any interest in Wanlu anymore. Why don't you be happy if I send you away to see the scenery of 9 heavens and 10 places? He spoke to the old monk and the two great beasts. It did not enclose the Lord of Eternal Wood. The Lord of Eternal Wood must stay. This is his bottom line. Except for the two big beasts to block, the old monk should not interfere. Sure enough, it was the same as he thought. The old monk laughed and said, "Hey, you little baby speaks nicely, I like and agree with it. I won't go in again in that ghost place in Wanlu." The 3 words of this little doll are particularly harsh. Shenmu Wang was very upset. He was the first generation of the 8 tribulations realm of Guyu time and space, and even the first generation of Pope of Guyu God sect was not qualified to call him that way. If it were not for the overall situation, he would have to blow the old monk's front teeth. I don't really think that he has this strength. He does now have the peak combat power of the year. But the peak of the year is better than his current peak. Who doesn't have a whole card yet? Knowing the character of the other party, King Shenmu simply tolerated it. And there are things that are useful to each other. Since this fellow Taoist thinks so too, it's better if we join hands. I will kill Hengmu, and I will be able to free the other two fellow Taoists too. After Shenmu Wang finished speaking, he looked at Zui Yehui. With the white of the right eye. These two big beasts are troublesome. You can't beat you to death. If the Lord of Hengmu relied on the two war beasts to escape, it would be difficult for him to chase. The old monk nodded again, and then agreed, "What you said is right, what you said is all right." That's it. The Lord of Hengmu laughed. He knows the old monk best. The more you say this, the less likely it is to cooperate. King Shenmu, what you think is really simple. Do you know the true identity of this old monk? The Lord of Hengmu couldn't help but mocked. He is the protector of the Taoist, the protector of the life force. I am not wrong. If you do, you should have tied Jian Wushuang. Do you think this old guy will cooperate with you? The Lord of Hengmu clutched his stomach and laughed out loud when he said that. I think Shenmu Wang is silly and naive. Jian Wushuang in the sky looked overjoyed when he heard this. Originally thought it was Wu Li's luck to pick up a relative. Unexpectedly, his luck was better, and he picked up a guardian for nothing. This luck finally made him run into it once. He had witnessed the strength of the old monk with his own eyes. Definitely the peak powerhouse of the 8 Tribulations realm. With this person protecting him, he can walk sideways throughout Guyu time and space. It doesn't matter if Wan Lu doesn't go. Going directly back to the mansion, returning to the Qi temple, and cleaning up the extinction are all blowing the mouth. No matter how much the backhand of extinction is, no matter how strong it is. In front of the 8 Tribulations realm peak powerhouse, what can be considered? Wu Li, who was behind the old monk, was also stunned when he heard the truth, and then looked at Jian Wushuang in the air. He originally thought he was hugging his thigh, but he didn't expect that this thigh was Jian Wushuang's protector, and he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. But it's good to be alive. Moreover, he is now the master of the universe in the 6 Tribulations realm, and he is already very satisfied. He didn't have any interest in Wan Lu either. For a time. Only the Shenmu king was still entangled with Wan Lu and the treasure in the main body of eternal wood. This is nothing. The point is that now even Jian Wushuang can't handle it anymore. The old monk slowly lifted into the sky, pointing to the Lord of Hengmu and said, "You kid, what you said is right." Immediately he came to Jian Wushuang's side, raised his hand and waved one person to shake back the 9 great elders of the ancient wood school and the 18 core elders. The terrifying power completely separated them from Jian Wushuang and others. At this moment, the old monk's complexion became serious, his aura was calm, and he stepped out of the air and walked towards Jian Wushuang. Dan Bao behind Jian Wushuang was a little scared, and Bulu stood directly in front of Dan Bao. It is difficult for the two of them to understand what these people are saying. I just felt that the old monk's breath and threatened them, so I was a little panicked. At this time, Jian Wushuang blew his face and couldn't help but cheat. He found that Bulu and Dan Bao were a little flustered, and he quickly reached out to comfort him. "Don't be afraid, you reading www. Ukanshu. Calm is all his own, and we have a backing." After speaking, he took the initiative to walk towards the old monk. Although he knew that the other party was his guardian, he still had to respect the strong. Although the Lord of Constant Wood in the valley was unhappy, this was a fact, and he could only accept it. I thought that if I had mastered the old monk, there would be nothing to do, but in the end, he got Jian Wushuang a guardian for nothing and lifted a rock to hit him in the foot. He also has innate vitality, so no old monk would be his protector. Thinking of leaving Wan Lu, the other side looked down upon him in every possible way. Later, the old monk, the 2 war beasts, and the strong among the thousands of willows will be trapped here. Then he used the secret method of soul enslavement. Control these people. I want them to be their guardians. Now the plan is half successful. Only the old monk is out of control, and the rest have no problems. It can be regarded as a receipt. Shenmu Wang was embarrassed here. Without Jian Wushuang, there is little hope of entering Wan Lu. The incomplete treasure that can only be placed on the Lord of Eternal Wood has once again increased his combat power. But this also made him lose the opportunity to climb the sky one step at a time. Otherwise, he spent so much effort planning what Wanlu would do. Treasures and opportunities in Wanlu. Far from outsiders know what it is. King Shenmu also learned something from the treasures of Lord Hengmu. There is a way in Wanlu Shenmu. That road is the road to becoming a god. That is a who transcends the tribulation realm and is not controlled by the supreme rules. Is the true of time and space. More powerful than the 9 tribulations realm. Since then escaped from time and space. Above all things. Such a pity. Chapter 5896. Shenmu King looked at Jian Wushuang and the old monk who were about to cross in the sky, muttering to himself, maybe this is fate. Jian Wushuang's strength is obvious to all. Also mastered the innate vitality. Having such an opportunity must be the blessing of the supreme rule. With this kind of chance against the sky, how can there be no protector? Everyone's eyes are full of envy and jealousy. Looked at the 2 intertwined people in the sky. The corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth were almost crooked, and he stretched out his hands and walked towards the old monk. The old monk also stretched out his hands and walked towards him grinning. But when the 2 were about to meet, Jian Wushuang was stunned. The old monk and his subtle gesture bypassed him and walked towards Dan Bao and Blue. This scene surprised everyone. Thought the old monk was joking. How could he bypass Jian Wushuang and head towards Dan Bao? A descendant of the dragon god? How could it be related to the protector of the life force? Blue was also very nervous, but he could see from the old monk's eyes that the other party was not malicious, so he slowly moved away. Dan Bao looked at the old monk with simple eyes, not knowing what to say. Old. The old monk stood in front of Dan Bao, first wiped his dirty paws, and then held Dan Bao's hands. Just when he wanted to speak, the old words were hung. But when he thought of someone's explanation, he immediately changed his words. Old monk, commoner monk, I have seen the little master. Such a polite name shocked everyone. Is this still the great monk who just behaved like a fool? Everyone's eyes focused on Dan Bao. I had forgotten Jian Wushuang long ago. Poor Jian Wushuang stood in the air, extremely embarrassed, wishing to rush down to find a place to get in. No matter what is good, we have to pass him by. At this time, Wu Li also rose into the sky and came to the opposite of Jian Wushuang. After finally seeing an acquaintance, I want to step forward to ease the embarrassment. Whoever came to think, Wu Li grinned, and walked around Dan Bao. Oh, this thing is making trouble. It turns out that everyone is their own, Dan Bao little brother. Wu Li wanted to step forward as he said. But before he reached Dan Bao's side, he was slapped out by the old monk. Fortunately, after controlling his strength, Wu Li only swelled up half of his face and was not injured. If the old monk really wants to do it, this slap can kill the 7 tribulations realm. After Wu Li was photographed flying, she dared not step forward, covering her face a little aggrieved. I can't get on the tabletop stuff. Jian Wushuang snorted coldly. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he relaxed, turned around, looked at Dan Bao, and cast a look at Bulu. Tell the other party that everything is fine. Although Dan Bao was a little at a loss here, some of the follow-up old monk's voice transmission made Dan Bao understand. After nodding in a daze, Dan Bao respectfully saluted the old monk. The old monk hurriedly bowed and said, "You can't do it, the old monk can't receive gifts." Seeing the other person embarrassed, Dan Bao had to get up. "Master, just call me Dan Bao in the future, and let me introduce to you, this is my perfect warrior of the Balunga tribe, Bulu, and my benefactor, Jian Wushuang." Dan Bao pointed to Bulu. Looked at Jian Wushuang again. The old monk first smiled at Bulu, then looked at Jian Wushuang, but there was a trace of killing intent in his eyes. Jian Wushuang, who originally wanted to stay ahead, could only stay in place. "It is Dan Bao's blessing that Dan Bao can meet you." Jian Wushuang arched his hands in a polite voice. "But the bottom of my heart is extremely uncomfortable. How could he be Dan Bao's protector? He has the purest life force. Why is it someone else, not him?" Just when he was puzzled, the old monk said in a cold voice, "Jian Wushuang, are you wondering now why you have the purest innate power, but you have lost to others?" This Jian Wushuang was asked this time, blocking the face of so many people so he won't even hit him in the face, right? If you say no, no one will believe it. The point is that he was really puzzled just now. Say yes, wouldn't it be impossible to lose? Dan Bao also felt that what the old monk said was a bit aggressive, and hurriedly pulled the corners of the old monk's clothes. When the old monk looked at Dan Bao, his complexion eased, and he comforted, "Don't worry, the little master, he is the benefactor of the little master. Just like the benefactor of the old monk, I will not be embarrassed, but his doubts will not be relieved, but instead it will be against him." Jian Wushuang coughed dryly. Since the other party had said so, he could only admit it. It's not a shame. Gentlemen, magnanimous. Just say it if you have it. Old predecessors, I do have some doubts here. I know that Dan Bao has the natural power of all things, which can also be transformed into the power of life, but compared with me, there is a big gap. You are the protector of the power of life. Why did you choose Dan Bao? As soon as this sentence came out, the rest of the people also rose into the sky. I want to hear what's going on. The complexion of Lord Constantwood was a bit embarrassing. Yu reading www.akanshu.com. He did not expect that the old monk would become Dan Bao's protector. At the same time, there was a guess in my heart. It's just this guess, he doesn't want to admit it. It's okay for King Shenmu to arrive. As long as he is not Jian Wushuang's guardian, then he still has the possibility of entering Wanlu. This is in his favor. And he was also curious, why didn't he choose the better Jian Wushuang? Instead he chose a little man who didn't see the bricks. An ordinary robbery. It is magical to have control over all innate things and transform them into life force. But compared with Jian Wushuang's innate life force, it was still much worse. The old monk saw that the people were also gathered, so he opened the chinchilla too. If you think so, it's actually quite right. After all, in this world, only the strong can dominate everything, but this is your idea, not the highest rule algorithm. This sentence shocked everyone. Thoughts of the strong. Master of the strong. Isn't it right? Under the supreme rule, don't the strong survive? Seeing the doubts on the faces of the people, the old monk said again, I used to feel the same way as you did. The weak are regarded as ants, and the strong are the inductors of heaven and earth. But I later encountered an extraordinary existence. He can control the supreme rules, he is the true God, he has taught me the views, and also allowed me to see the nature of the world clearly. Nature? Everyone took a deep breath again. You all know the tribulation of the supreme rule, but who knows that there is no difference between the tribulation of the weak and the strong? This is the fairness of the supreme rule. In the eyes of the supreme rule, there is no predation of the weak, and that set is just for mortals. What an evil excuse! This time everyone's eyes were round. Chapter 5897. Mortal Excuses. The weak and the strong do not exist. This really shocked them all. Jian Wushuang, ask yourself, if you have the power of life, can you do good things and do good deeds? This sentence made Jian Wushuang sober. I see. He has mastered the power of life, only thinking about making himself stronger, and has never cared about the life and death of the weak. In other words, he has mastered the power of life, which is a waste. It's just because of his own strength that he can't get into the eyes of the gods after all. I didn't. He felt a little lost suddenly, and slowly shook his head. The old monk's expression moved, and he said calmly, That's right. I don't see hope in you. In my fate there is only Dan Bao. This is why you lost. Your vitality does not come from the gift of the gods, is nothing more than the power stolen. In short, you are not worthy to master the power of life. Yes. Jian Wushuang sighed secretly in his heart. He really doesn't deserve to master the power of life. When he first grasped the power of life, he would restrain himself from killing less. But it was later discovered that it couldn't be changed at all. And he never regarded the power of life as the end, he still wanted to swallow the power of death. To fuse the power of reincarnation. The old monk, if he is chosen, he will be blind. After some explanation, everyone understood. King Shenmu was also stunned. The ideal in my heart suddenly collapsed. He wanted to become a god, but found that he couldn't even cross the threshold. But now it is too late to change. Shenmu King was still a little unwilling. The Lord of Hengmu is okay, he has never thought about this, just wants to refine that treasure to a complete one, and it is enough to become the 9 tribulations realm. Gut. He hadn't thought about it. Jian Wushuang is the same. Never thought about it. Although a little disappointed, he was scolded. But thinking about it, there is no reason to refute it. Dan Bao also looked up at Jian Wushuang in a daze. He always believed that Jian Wushuang was a good person. Not because of the words of the old monk, Jian Wushuang had any change. His life was saved by Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. Before the elder was dying, he and Blue were also confessed to Jian Wushuang. Seeing Jian Wushuang being slapped, he was a little bit disappointed and came forward to comfort him. "I'm fine, but I want to congratulate you. With such a senior protector, the great elder is in the spirit of the sky. If you know, you will be very happy. Don't let the great elder disappointed." Jian Wushuang touched Dan Bao's head, sincere blessings. They thought that this was the end of the matter, and they could be regarded as hearing the big picture from the gods. But who came up with it? A staggering laugh drew everyone's attention to the top. Under the shining of the sun, a strangely dressed young man with white hair standing tall in the uppermost skies slowly descended. There is no meaning in the body. If the people present hadn't heard the laughter, they hadn't noticed anyone coming. Now on the field, there are 2 big 8 Tribulation Realm peak powerhouses. Even if the master of the 8 Tribulations realm came, they would be able to discover it. But he didn't find the person in front of him. Facing the sun, fell into the center of the crowd. Everyone was taken aback. Jian Wushuang even dropped his chin in shock. The person who came was no one else, but Wes in the Tower of 9 Tribulations. Or from his original universe. "How did you come out?" Jian Wushuang's eyes widened and pointed at Weiss. He originally thought that Wes could only be inside him. "I didn't expect to be able to come out." After seeing Jian Wushuang, Wes covered his mouth and found the familiar laughter. Everyone was a little puzzled. Only Jian Wushuang knew the identity of Weiss. The old monk stared at the outfit on Weiss, and there was no aura in Wes. His complexion suddenly changed. This is the same as any true he encountered back then, without breath. It's just that the person he met was a fat man. The person in front of him is tall and straight, neither fat nor thin. "Of course I can come out, seeing what you have said so much. If I don't come out again, I will be suffocated to death," Weiss said indifferently. After Jian Wushuang saw Weiss, he also reacted. The other person is also a god. Was able to see him, wouldn't he still save it? They are not mortals abandoned by the supreme rule. Weiss seemed to be able to see his thoughts, glanced at the people, then looked at the old monk and said in a bad tone, "Did a fat blue man tell you the rhetoric you just made?" This sentence shocked the old monk. "Fat blue man. That's God. I was told by such a senior. Do you know him?" The old monk couldn't believe it. "You can still meet God. And it looks like who knows him a little bit back then." After hearing this, Weiss nodded and said, "That's right, it should be the realm king of your northern spacetime, so he will be so boring to pay attention to mortals." The king of the north. What it is? Jian Wushuang was also puzzled. And I heard Beishikang. Could it be that the starry sky is also divided into north and east? He thought that this is the long river of time and space. It diverged a lot. It seemed that what he saw was not true. Wes looked at Jian Wushuang at this time, and said in a serious tone, "I didn't want to come out, but the old monk's words are indeed too one-sided. They conveyed our original meaning wrong. Now I have to correct it." After speaking, he took out a very old book. "Now I represent. Well, I will represent some of your gods in north time and space. I can tell you clearly that the road to godhood is not single. There is a of life in life, and a of death in death. The of all things, his position is limited, and there are many ways to succeed. For the of life, the power of the weak is definitely not feasible, but for the of death, it is different. Of course, it is not for you to kill the right way. Everything there is the law of causation, faith in fate or fate. The place of God is wherever you are. If you want to succeed, you need a price and opportunity." Weiss said a whole series directly. Everyone was stunned. In short, it is to refute those words of the old monk just now. Of course there are also correct ones. For example, the of life really needs great love. There is no way to refute this. As Weiss said, life has a of life. Then death also has the of death. God's standard is not single. This is the one thing Jian Wushuang heard best for him. The bottom of my heart is also very happy. At least the road above is not blocked. Until now, he could be regarded as prying into a corner of this world. The endless starry sky, and the long river of time and space surrounding the starry sky. Where is the mysterious and unspeakable God? Where you now? How far is the future that Teacher Xuanyi said? But along the way, what he learned from Teacher Xian Yi is called persistence. Chapter 5898. His own way is not because of other people, but for yourself. Maybe he is really going to the end. The after the robbery is his direction. Well, I have finished talking, you can continue to fight. After Wes finished speaking, his figure turned into a rainbow, assimilated with the space. Completely disappeared. Standing in front of them, they couldn't feel the breath of Weiss. Let alone after leaving. No one knows where Weiss has gone. But they knew that Jian Wushuang and Weiss knew each other. Friend Wushuang, do you know such a great God? Shenmu Wang now believes that Jian Wushuang's background is not simple. Although the old monk was a bit stiff, he was stunned by Weiss this time, but he also recognized Jian Wushuang. Weiss was right. The information he received was relatively single. Jian Wushuang was stunned for a moment, then looked at the crowd, smiled awkwardly and said, "Don't be nervous, he won't come out again, he just met by chance." He didn't shamelessly go to novice to scare them. When Wes left he said it. "Feel free to shoot. People here when they die he won't care." Just corrected those words of the old monk. At the same time, the title of Realm King was also mentioned. This was the first time Jian Wushuang heard it. The King Shenmu had known for a long time. The Lord of Eternal would also knows a little bit. They are the powerhouses, but now they are not ready to make another move. Instead, they discuss things about God. Everyone, I propose that we speak out all the things about God, exchange the information that each other knows, and then talk about the rest. King Shenmu took the lead. The old monk even agreed. Lord Hengmu hesitated and nodded in agreement. Then they looked at Jian Wushuang one after another. Jian Wushuang naturally had no reason to refuse. He also wanted to know the rumors about God. And he knows Weiss, this is the biggest bargaining chip. Lao Tzu first said, "I did know the realm king among the large population just now. It was a matter among the willows. I was studying the rules of the 9 tribulations realm and it attracted the attention of the realm king." The old monk said very delicately. Everyone listened intently. The old monk was originally an aboriginal powerhouse in the sacred tree of Wanlu, and he was a special life. There is no need to cross the robbery. So I can delve into the rules of the 9 tribulations realm and want to break through. But how easy it is. No breakthrough was found. He went crazy, slaughtering the common people in the 10,000 willow sacred tree, plundering all resources to strengthen himself. Want to break through all laws with one effort. This scene happened to be seen by Lord Jie Wang. So the lower bound reminded him. He was also appointed as the protector of the of life. Beishikang contains 9 major time and space. The deity of life is missing. This position will appear in the future. It is the future at that time. It's now. Then there is the present thing. After the old monk finished speaking, it was the turn of the Lord Hengmu. He didn't know much about God. But the way to becoming a is to know a little bit. The road to becoming a god. In the Wanlu Shenmu. However, the Lord of Hengmu was obviously not very concerned about this. Never thought of becoming a god. I just want the treasure that will be snatched by Shenmu King. This treasure is also related to the road to godhood. It was when he strayed down the road in Wanlu that he discovered this treasure. Later, he took advantage of this treasure to take the old monk, the 2 war beasts, and thousands of powerful men to leave Wanlu Shenmu. From the words of the Lord of Constant Wood, Jian Wushuang realized that the Lord of Hengmu was originally the indigenous powerhouse in Wanlu. It just used the name of a small trash fish from the outside world. At the beginning, there were many strong people who entered Wanlu divine realm. a master of the universe in the Three Tribulations realm, followed the large forces into the 10,000 Willows divine realm, then fell and disappeared. He was replaced by the current Lord of Hengmu. Shenmu King and the old monk have known about it for a long time. Jian Wushuang also had speculation before. It was when Wu Li was the last to react. Speaking of which, he is also an indigenous powerhouse in Wanlu Nei. It was the Lord of Hengmu who saw that he was a child, so he didn't stay. In the enchantment arranged by the old monk, after the Lord of Hengmu had finished speaking, they turned their heads to look at King Shenmu. As Guyu Time and Space, one of the oldest 8 Tribulations realm powerhouse Shenmu King, the one who knows should be the most. Thanks Tusk, what the old man knows is actually similar to what Hengmu knows, but there are some rumors that you may not know. Shenmu King paused and then said, the creator of Guyu Time and Space, you should know that she is the former goddess, the powerhouse of the 9 Tribulations realm. If you say she is a god, I also believe it, but it should be a creation god. Yes, although I did not meet each other, but at the beginning, I entered the core of the origin of time and space together with the first pope and others of the ancient moon sect. In it, we saw the body of the goddess. She did not really fall, but her origin. As the origin of Guyu Time and Space, it belongs to fusion with this world. This matter, in fact, is something that everyone knows at the top. It satisfies the low-level little people like Jian Wushuang. From the first time he entered Guyu Time and Space, he met a goddess and blocked them. There is speculation that the other party may not have fallen. Even the 7 Tribulations realm can plan things after death. Not to mention a great power in the 9 Tribulations realm. There must be some ulterior secrets. What Shenmu Wang said was very casual. At the beginning, the goddess just told them that there was a in the 9 Tribulations. And God is not only divided into types, also divided into ranks. It's just this level, how to divide it, I don't know. After hearing the words of King Shenmu, they felt that King Shenmu was the same as what he hadn't said. Since it was a wave of information exchange before the war, it all depends on personal sincerity. It's hard for anyone to ask more. Maybe you will die afterwards. In the end, everyone's eyes converged on Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang is making up stories in his heart. Seeing everyone looking at them, they coughed twice and said, my story? I don't know much about it. You must know that I am not a local powerhouse in Guyu Time and Space. I coming from the other side of the starry sky, somewhere closer to the land of the gods, by chance, I met. Although his story is a bit outrageous. But everyone was stunned without doubt. Still listening to it tastefully. Jian Wushuang himself admired his story ability. In short, he met Weiss because of his great achievements in the future, and Weiss is a little who invested in him in advance. I just ordered him a few times. Shenmu Wang listened intently and asked a little curiously, Wu Shuang Daoist, I don't know this Master Weiss. Has you ever said where is your path to becoming a god? Chapter 5899. This can't be said, he who should come will eventually come. Jian Wushuang pretended to be deep. Everyone nodded again and again. People present. The Lord of Eternal Wood is for treasures. Shenmu Wang is to become a god. The old monk is a protector of the Tao, and he walks for the sake of protecting the Tao. All have a clear purpose. Then Jian Wushuang had lost all his goals. I want to leave here now. Let them fight in a few ways. Dan Bao has a protector, and he doesn't need his protection anymore. Wu Li even found a relative. Although I don't know why this relative is a monk, he has a great backer after all. On the contrary, he didn't get anything this time. But the goal of coming to Wanlu, he completed ahead of schedule. It can be said to be the master of the universe in one fell swoop. This is also considered a prophet. The old monk saw that he had said everything that should be said, and waved his hand to remove the barrier. The elders of the ancient wood school don't know anything. Thought these big brothers were in peace talks. Whoever thinks, just as the barrier disappeared, the old monk fought against the Lord of Hengmu. The Shenmu king next to him was frightened. The Lord of Hengmu exploded one after another, but his divine power, even if it was restored to its peak, could not hold back the current old monk. You should have been killed long ago. The old monk shouted angrily, standing upright. The light on his body enveloped the entire world. The left Yehue and the white right eye were right beside the Lord of Constant Wood, and quickly helped the Lord of Constant Wood resist the attack from the old monk. In order not to be affected, Jian Wushuang hurriedly backed away. Wu Li on the side was even quicker, and backed with him. There are also Bru and Dan Bao. The Shenmu king who had reacted looked at Dan Bao and then at the old monk. At the bottom of my heart, I don't know what I'm planning. The old monk unilaterally suppressed the two war beasts. The two war beasts simply couldn't hold it. The Lord of Hengmu was also a little panicked, and his heart was very confused. He didn't understand why the old monk hated him so much. The matter of enslavement is actually personal hatred. Now the old monk is already a protector, there is no need to kill him. No! Lord Hengmu reacted at this moment. The mysterious treasure in Dan Bao's body resonated with his treasure. If a little guy can't find it, doesn't it mean that the old monk, the protector, doesn't know? Thinking of this, he figured it out, and hurriedly shouted at King Shenmu, "King Shenmu, this great monk is for my treasure. If I die, you alone will never be an opponent." This sentence awakened the Shenmu king. He also went to open Wanlu for the treasures of Hengmu and walked the path of becoming a god. After reacting, a grin leaked out of his face, and he immediately rushed to Jian Wushuang and the others. The old monk stopped in an instant. His plan is still a bit sloppy. I thought that Hengmu could be solved quickly, but I still underestimated the two war beasts. Had to come back to protect Dan Bao. But at this moment, an afterimage dashed across the sky, and then a huge spaceship descended. It was still afterimages just now, and it became real in an instant. Below the universe, there is also a great behemoth standing. The ancient bells were accompanied by the roar of wild beasts and the deafening roar. When Shenmu King shot, he had not yet reached Jian Wushuang's front. The old monk was only one step short of being in front of them. Which powerful beast with a sense of oppression hits in an instant? The red skin, the regular lines on the chest, and the terrifying breath of supernatural power. Just for an instant, he was in front of Jian Wushuang. King Shenmu was also stunned at this time, but how could the fist that went out be retracted? I just wanted to directly attack this mysterious powerhouse who broke in. Divine power also erupted in an instant. Originally, he didn't need such a powerful divine power to deal with Jian Wushuang and others. Facing the sudden mysterious powerhouse with one hand, there was a trace of anxiety in his heart. So directly used the peak power. But such a punch hit the face of the mysterious strong man, but the other party didn't move at all. King Shenmu was completely stunned. Roll! With an angry shout, the mysterious and powerful breath broke out, directly shaking the Shenmu king out of thousands of miles. Even the old monk who hurried over was shaken back. The bottom of my heart can't help but shock who came. From those exchanges just now, he has a rough idea of the current GUS spacetime pattern. Shenmu King is already the pinnacle powerhouse, the even more powerful masters of the 8 Tribulations realm universe. The master of the universe is the original universe, and the 8 Tribulations realm can carry the original universe with an additional dojo to fight. Divine power multiplied. But no matter how he looked at it, he couldn't see that there was a dojo here. But the other party was able to scream out and shook him and Shenmu Wang back. Everyone was extremely shocked. Especially Wu Li, who just joked how invincible his own father was. When I saw this scene, my face froze. The Lord of Hengmu, who was protected by the 2 great beasts, was staring at the spaceship above him, and he was familiar with this breath. And it's still an old acquaintance. But I didn't expect that this former deceased would have such a powerful helper. When he was outside the Eternal Realm, he obviously only felt the breath of the 8 Tribulations realm. How come it is so strong now? Obviously surpassed the divine power of the 8 Tribulations realm. You reading www. Ukanshu. Kambalu pulled Dan Bao, also extremely nervous. Too many things happened this day. The great elder has fallen. He and Dan Bao were forced into exile. I just had a protector. I thought it would be more peaceful in the future. But what followed was a more powerful threat. He is now a perfect dragon warrior. But facing that back figure, he still couldn't breathe. With a strong sense of oppression, let alone Bulu, Jian Wushuang couldn't help backing up. His complexion was even greener. The back. There are sharp long thorns behind. He can't forget. It's over. This time it's a big game. I forgot the most difficult person for a while. He didn't need to look at the spaceship above. He knew that it was Emperor Bobby. Because the Tao appeared here. Qi Jiu Xiao. Death Giant Clan. Without any hesitation, he turned around and was about to use 3 Shock Universe to prepare to escape, but was blocked by another familiar figure. Soul Emperor. Seeing Jian Wushuang's horrified eyes, Soul Tiandi said with disdain, Jian Wushuang, I originally envied you, but why are you so ignorant and dare to betray Lord Bobby? As soon as he finished speaking, he fisted. Jian Wushuang directly performed the super-eternal transformation. His divine power directly exceeded 2 million. His hands were protected in front of his chest, and he resisted this punch. Boom. Hard resistance came down, and the divine body began to break. Fortunately, he doesn't need to conceal the power of life, and he can quickly recover as no one is left. Thanks, Tusk. The power of life is really amazing. After taking a punch, the Soul Tiandi didn't make another move, but retreated, reaching the edge of the cosmic arc, and bowed to look at the hatch. Chapter 5900. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. The other party is addicted to being a dog. But even for the worst, Bobby D will not move him either. But it's hard for others to say. Before Bobby Emperor came out, he wanted to transmit the sound to the old monk and the Shenmue King. But he hasn't waited for his voice transmission. The other party has found him. Cooperate. 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 The 3 parties reached an agreement in an instant. Then he looked at the Lord of Hengmu. Nodded in the same way. He pulled Dan Bao and approached the old monk. The old monk is Dan Bao's guardian anyway, and he is more willing to trust the other person. Shenmue King and Hengmu Lord also followed with others. Qi Jiuxiao ignored it. His task was to stop the fight. The cabin door of the spaceship opened. Swish. Several figures walked out of the hatch neatly, and then stood in 2 groups, waiting for the appearance of Bobby D. No one else can do it at this level. Seeing these people, the elders of the Gumu sect could no longer stand. All are acquaintances. And when they felt the breath on their bodies, their faces solidified. At this time Jian Wushuang and the others also found the strangeness. Could it be that the secret method has been created? He couldn't believe it. If it is really created, then all the robberies will become the dogs of Bobby D. At the same time he also thought of Weiss. And what the old monk said. The road to becoming a god. It does not seem to be walking alone. There is also Bobby D. Jie. Before the person came out, he let out a strange laugh. Following this, a small, thin and big head walked out of the cabin. However, under his feet, there was a floating frisbee. Needless to say, this person is Bobby D. There was still a golden light shining on her body. It looks like a mask of supernatural power. Walking out with Bobby D is the familiar Dylan. However, the current Dylan, the divine aura, is not weak, the sole heavenly emperor. It has become the test product of Bobby D, and the first person on the road to resurrection. Be regarded as a forerunner. I think this guy is average. The old monk glanced at Emperor Bobby with disdain, but he was most afraid of Qi Jiuxiao. Jian Wushuang didn't hide it from them either, and he was about to tell the whole story about Bobby Emperor. The Lord of Eternal should be aware of it, and he was not surprised. Although King Shenmue knew a thing or two, it was also before Emperor Bobby did not recover Qi Jiuxiao. At first I thought that the disappearance of the Eternal Kingdom was just a small matter. Unexpectedly, such a character appeared. Resurrection. King Shenmue was stunned at once. Someone can do this kind of thing. Isn't it a god? Jian Wushuang actually regretted it when he finished speaking. He was really afraid that the Shenmue King would rekindle the road of cultivation in order to resurrect, and join forces with Emperor Bobby to deal with them. But he still underestimated King Shenmue. Shenmue Wang thought he thought about this kind of thing. It's just that he doesn't have a Bobby D pattern. To resurrect, I just think that I can resurrect and become a god. Everyone, it's better not to tell me about this matter, otherwise we will be the enemy of all Sanjie. Jian Wushuang reminded everyone in a low voice. The old monk said in surprise, "It's not so exaggerated. Resurrection is not that easy. Only after becoming a can it be done. The breath of that Bobby Emperor is very ordinary, and it should not be a god. It's not now, doesn't mean it won't be in the future." The Lord of Hengmu said at this time, "The road that Emperor Bobby has to take is actually very simple. He is walking on the road of a half-god. He wants the demon to become a half by faith. We'll think of the way to resurrection." Jian Wushuang nodded secretly and heard something he hadn't heard before. There is even a demigod who said that. But think about it. Bobby D has no vitality. It has nothing to do with the of life. The of life, mastering life, can naturally resurrect. Now there is no of life in Beishikong, so the road to the robbery is broken. That way, the road is complete. King Shenmu is also weighing himself. If the resurrection is related to the of life, isn't it the best plan for him to turn his head to take refuge in Danbao now? Fight for yourself, hope is slim. Now there is another common enemy. Qi Jiuxiao alone can beat all of them. How to fight for this? It's better to follow the old monk and wait for Danbao to become a god, and he will be able to rekindle the path of cultivation. Just abandoning his plan, he can only practice slowly. The Lord of Hengmu is originally a special being, not the Lord of the universe. Naturally, there is no need for rebirth. He followed purely tossing about, but he was reluctant to take his own treasure. My heart was also shaken. But if he took refuge in Bobby, he would have no way out. Bobidi wouldn't help him. And he doesn't have enough chips. For a time, everyone had their own ghosts. Only Jian Wushuang was very passive. He didn't know what he was doing here. If these people need his life force, go to Open Wanlu. He is willing to cooperate. Then give each of them a large amount of life force, just hope that they can leave safely. But this idea is too naive. Bobby D was embraced by the crowd for the first time, and came to the crowd, just like watching a clown, staring at the crowd and saying, "I will give you two paths now, one to cooperate and the other to die." This sentence is very familiar. It is similar to what Shenmu Wang said at the beginning. It's just a bit more domineering. "How old are you?" The old monk's temper burst, and he couldn't listen to it, so he directly retorted. Emperor Bobby frowned, and Qi Jiuxiao next to him rushed over immediately. The old monk's aura suddenly exploded, surpassing tens of millions of divine powers, and resisted Qi Jiuxiao. But after only holding on for a while, Qi Jiuxiao fisted and flew out. King Shenmu quickly stepped forward to help. "You can't watch it now, you can't be broken one by one. King Hengmu is the most chicken thief, let his right eye be blank to help King Shenmu and the old monk." With Cui Yehue with him, he wanted to sneak attack on Emperor Bobby. At the same time, he called Bru. Bulu gave Jian Wushuang a look and motioned to protect Danbao. Incarnate directly in the form of a true dragon, exploding with more than 2 million divine powers to attack Bobby D. Jian Wushuang shook his head secretly. He has been paying attention to the divine shield of Bobby Emperor. It must be extraordinary to be able to stand in front of them like this. It is not so easy to attack Bobby D. Just the Soul Heaven Emperor and Dylan, the two Eight Tribulations realm combat power, is a difficult point. Emperor Bobby did not panic when he saw the Lord of Hengmu rushing with people, and said calmly, "You get out of the way and let him fight." Hengmu and Bulu have similar powers. They all look like more than 2 million. The shield against Bobby D is similar to Guasha. Zui Yehue, the top divine power of the Eight Tribulations realm, did not respond to his fierce attack on the shield. Chapter 5901. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang also had an expectation in his heart. "It seems that I have to go on a horse this time." He flipped his palm, took out a token and shouted, "Qi Jiuxiao, you know this thing?" This token was given to him by Frosa. It's useful as long as you encounter the giant gods. I don't know if Qi Jiuxiao, who is under control, will recognize it. The moment he took out the token, Qi Jiuxiao was taken aback for a moment, and then stopped attacking. Shenmue King and the old monk did not dare to take the opportunity to sneak attack. It is true that neither of them can shake Qi Jiuxiao. Following his gaze, he looked at Jian Wushuang. Woo! The moment Qi Jiuxiao saw the token, his eyes burst, and then he wailed painfully while holding his head. There was a trace of consciousness, tearing him apart. The originally calm Bobby Emperor saw this place, and suddenly panicked. His biggest trump card is Qi Jiuxiao on the bright side. Qi Jiuxiao had a problem, and he was finished. Qi Jiuxiao. Emperor Bobby rushed towards Qi Jiuxiao regardless. But the crazy Qi Jiuxiao suddenly increased his aura, almost breaking through the 9 tribulations realm. Both the Shenmue King and the old monk backed back again and again. Emperor Bobby, who rushed forward, was shaken away by Qi Jiuxiao with a casual wave. Cracks appeared on the shields. Knowing that the situation is serious, Emperor Bobby hurriedly shouted at the soul of the Emperor and the others, "Go and kill Jian Wushuang." The soul Tiandi and others naturally did not dare to hesitate, and rushed over immediately. But he was stopped by Zui Yi alone. The soul Tiandi and the others retreated. Trash! Bobby Emperor yelled angrily. The Shenmue King and the old monk also turned around at this time and rushed towards the Emperor Bobby. They also knew that by killing Emperor Bobby, the threat of Qi Jiuxiao was gone. Jian Wushuang found a flash on the token, as if erasing a mark. Not good. He quickly put away the token. But it was still too late. Qi Jiuxiao completely erased his identity of the giant race from the token. This is not because he is controlled by the token. But there is the cause and effect of the giants above. He wants to remove the cause and effect. Now the cause and effect is lifted. Will not be restricted. Emperor Bobby's order also completely entered Qi Jiuxiao's consciousness. Kill everyone. The sky burst instantly. Qi Jiuxiao directly dragged Shenmue King and the old monk back with one hand. Jian Wushuang swallowed and secretly said, "You won't be killed." He felt he was going to die now. There is absolutely no whole cards to use. Escape and can't escape. Weiss. The last straw. On the Tianqing mountain of the origin universe. Jian Wushuang's incarnation descended. Before he could speak, Weiss spoke his thoughts. "I won't help anyone." The decisive refusal made Jian Wushuang completely desperate. There is no room for negotiation. Weiss saw Jian Wushuang, whose face turned into pig liver, and said, "However, I can give you an idea. Who is the candidate for the life next to you? He is your life-saving straw. What do you say?" Jian Wushuang hurriedly approached. "It's very simple. You tell that Bobby D, as long as you help Dan Bao become the of life, you can create a perfect path to resurrection. This is a normal thing in other time and space." Weiss said indifferently, but Jian Wushuang was stumped. Valley, he didn't believe this when he said it. How could Bobby D believe it? And still have to protect Dan Bao? Why don't you try it yourself? No, this old fox will definitely not believe what I said. Jian Wushuang shook his head helplessly. Weiss also kept silent and moved him out directly. Jian Wushuang was speechless. This is his universe. As a result, he was moved out like an outsider. But when he went out, Weiss' voice rang in his ears. "Before you die, I will move you out." This is a quick-acting heart-saving pill. With this sentence, it is equivalent to saving one's life. The whole person relaxed in an instant. But Weiss added another sentence later. "My appearance fee is very expensive. To help you once, you need to drop a level." This sentence may not be believed by others, but Jian Wushuang is 100% sure this is not a joke. Just after relaxing, it withered in an instant. But from Weiss, one thing is known anyway. That is the sign of Dan Bao becoming a god. Perhaps the power of resurrection could be automatically unfolded. If this matter is told to Bobby D, then it will be over. Dan Bao became the of life, and he was able to embark on the road to resurrection. What about Bobby D? Then the clown will be Bobby D. He can only find a breakthrough from other directions. Qi Jiuxiao, who has no worries, is invincible. No matter how powerful the old monk and the Shenmue King were, they couldn't stand it. But Emperor Bobby was very excited. This was Qi Jiuxiao's first real shot. In the past, it was just a little joke. Can't get on the table. Now Qi Jiuxiao is getting stronger as it fights. Even if the Lord of the Eight Tribulations realm comes, it won't work. Throughout the ancient moon time and space, no one on Calm can stop his resurrection plan. Emperor Bobby, Lord Hengmu said at this time. Jian Wushuang froze for a moment, feeling that the other party was going to turn back, ready to retreat at any time. Hengmu, don't worry. Emperor Bobby grinned. He couldn't forget the incident that had just been attacked by Hengmu. I'm not in a hurry. I'm afraid it's you who will be in a hurry. The Lord of Eternal Wood did not show weakness, and there was madness in his eyes. If you don't fight now, you will really be dead. The white of his right eye had been severely injured several times, and then Dan Bao was resuscitated and re-entered the battle. The same goes for Zhuyehui. If this continues, they will die. Seeing that the Lord of Hengmu was so confident, Emperor Bobby was also interested, and said sarcastically, "Oh, it seems that you still have a whole card, you might as well show it up. I don't know how to live or die." The Lord of Hengmu looked cold, raised his left hand and drew it directly to his chest. This scene really made no one think of it. Jian Wushuang was also taken aback. "Hengmu, it's really unnecessary. It's a big deal and die together. You don't have to commit suicide." So crazy, Jian Wushuang also felt the sadness of the rabbit and the fox. "I want to persuade you." But whoever came to think, the Lord of Hengmu, escaped a broken ball in his chest. "Don't talk." The Lord of Hengmu was almost crying. He held the ball in one hand and covered the wound with the other, panting heavily, turning his head to Dan Bao and said, "You kid, if you succeed in the future, if you are the god of life, you must remember the sacrifice I made for you today, and the position of the gods must be given to me, or I will bring this treasure to death." Divine envoy? Dan Bao didn't know what it was. Jian Wushuang didn't know this either. But being able to let Lord Hengmu do this kind of thing is obviously very special. Chapter 5902. The old monk, who was struggling to resist Qi Jiuxiao, his eyes widened when he heard the envoy. He knows this best. The place of God. There is more than one person. Taoist protectors can also follow God and walk the path of God. But it is not a true God, but a demigod. To put it simply, it means that one person can ascend to heaven. If Dan Bao has become the of life, then the old monk, the protector, can become a demigod protector. Below the guardian, there are some positions. Be regarded as the messenger of God. However, the location is limited. Equally precious. Little Lord, promise him. The old monk was not stingy at this time. Originally such a good thing. If there were no external threats, he would definitely not share it with these people. But now Bobby D has come out to disrupt the situation. It's different. After Dan Bao heard the old monk's words, he didn't know what to do. You can only take the oath of life first. Hearing that Dan Bao had made his life oath, Lord Hengmu was cruel and threw the treasure directly to Dan Bao. "Swallow it, this treasure is your key to becoming a god." When the Lord of Hengmu said this, his heart was bleeding. This treasure was an opportunity for him to become the Nine Tribulations realm. Now I can only give up. However, the position of the divine envoy is actually pretty good. Although it is under the fence, it is a position after all. Many masters of the Eight Tribulations realm universe don't have the qualifications to want it. And Dan Bao's character, he was looking at it. Following such a of life, the future is also very free. After Dan Bao took the treasure, he swallowed it directly without hesitation. The crippled orb circulated crazily in Dan Bao's body. Dan Bao's natural power of all things instantly became the innate life force. This powerful life force is purer than Jian Wushuang's. Dan Bao's figure also grew a lot taller in an instant, and there was a wave of vigor at the center of his eyebrows. Turning his head to look at the seriously injured old monk and King Shenmu, he flipped his hand and took out a deadwood scepter, pointed towards the sky, and said loudly, "Shenghui Nebula." The world changes. Everyone felt a touch of warmth in themselves. Except for those of Bobby Dis men. Together with the elders of the Gu Mu sect, they all found a powerful life force in their body. This force can not only restore his vitality, but also allow them to increase their combat power in a short time. The The same goes for the Shenmue king and the old monk. The divine power had already regressed after being seriously injured. But under this nebula, divine power instantly boiled. The combat power has also been upgraded to a notch. For a time, he was able to share the same color with Qi Jiuxiao. Is this the god of life? Shenmue Wang exclaimed. At the same time, the treasure in his body also began to resonate, reminiscent of what the Lord Hengmu did just now. He understood in an instant. This treasure, in other words, this is a true treasure, is the key to becoming a god. He already knew this, but now he understands that what doesn't belong to him does not belong to him. With a ruthless heart, he chose the old path of Lord Hengmu. The treasure that he grabbed directly from Hengmu was forcibly pulled out of his divine body. Brother Danbao, it's up to you this time. Shenmue Wang was more assured of Danbao's character, and directly said that the treasure was thrown to Danbao without any conditions. The place of the gods. In fact, for him, the improvement is limited. But resurrection, he has great interest. Cooperating with Bobby D is to be a dog. But if you invest in Danbao, that's different. Not only will they get married, but they can also be treated equally. They still distinguish between good and bad. Valley following Danbao, at least the dignity of the past can be retained. The strong, this is the most important thing. Although King Shenmue lost his treasure, his combat power did not decrease in any way. Treasures are used to cultivate divine power. The divine power promotes the basic divine power. Treasures are only a way to improve after all. Danbao took the treasure thrown by Shenmue King. Both hands couldn't help shaking. Jian Wushuang looked a little eagerly from the side. A beam of purest green light rose into the sky. At this moment, Danbao illuminates the whole world. The source of life. Jian Wushuang stared at the source of Danbao's body. Originally Danbao had no origin. But at this moment, it is the core of the origin. The treasure that the Lord of Eternal Wood has high hopes is truly complete in Danbao. Qi Jiuxiao, don't worry about those two wastes, kill this kid first. Emperor Bobby found something wrong. He came from the stars and knew more about God. The Buddha's light on the old monk's body was so great, his hands stretched out to directly block Qi Jiuxiao's path. It's shameful to be a mortal body, like a demigod, but to be a dog like a monkey. The old monk sneered and wanted to provoke Qi Jiuxiao and leave him behind. But Qi Jiuxiao took this set, punching the sky, directly smashing the old monk who once again raised his supernatural power. King Shenmue wanted to step forward, but was also blasted out. They can resist Qi Jiuxiao, but it is almost impossible to stop Qi Jiuxiao. Seeing that Qi Jiuxiao was about to rush towards Danbao, Bru couldn't stand anymore, and the real dragon incarnate was about to slay out. But Jian Wushuang stopped him. You stay, I'll go. His eyes were determined, didn't know what it was for at this moment. But just stand up. Maybe it's because of the words of the great elder back then. There are also those that the old monk said. God's path is not single, but very specific. What you say and what you do. The unity of knowing and doing. Jian Wushuang took a step forward, drew out the sword of 10,000 tribulations, and faced the terrifying Qi Jiuxiao without a trace of fear. At this moment, the increase in his body reached its peak. The origin universe is here in an instant. The super-eternal change has also reached its peak. Divine power is as high as 2,100,000 black holes in the origin universe are operating at the same time, raising his origin to its peak. Life. Die. The two horrible sword intents reached the peak and gathered in the body of the sword of 10,000 tribulations. The sword of 10,000 tribulations, from an unpredictable angle, condensed two powerful sword intents together. The instant change triggered an irreversible force. That power is spinning. No one was convinced of each other. Both want to swallow the other party. But no one can kill anyone. This vortex instantly condensed to the tip of the sword. Jian Wuming is even more hideous. He still can't fully grasp this power even now. This is the true power of reincarnation. Starry Sky Catalog, the Third Sword. Reincarnation. This one is not a fierce killing of kendo. It was a terrible destruction. Reincarnation is building. Destruction is rising. The sword of myriad tribulations slashed, and what was emitted was a huge whirlpool. Immediately moved all the surrounding areas to the flat ground. This force directly reached the 8 tribulations realm. The rushing Qi Jiuxiao stretched out his hand to block, but was unable to interfere with this vortex. Chapter 5903. The figure sank directly into it. What is this? The Shenmue king who rushed over was shocked. The power of life is already very precious. But another force turned out to be death. Life is precious. What about death? If life is a catastrophe, the vitality is the pinnacle of all things. Then death is the end of everything. The collision between the start point and the end point. Condensed strength. It's not simple reciprocity. The power reversed by both sides is enough to deter all 8 tribulations realm. Shenmue King's eyes flashed, looking at Jian Wushuang. Apart from amazement in the bottom of my heart, I was surprised. There is a fluke. Fortunately, he and Jian Wushuang are now in a cooperative relationship. Otherwise, this trick would fall on his head. The old monk was different from the Shenmue King. When he saw this power, the first thing he thought of was reincarnation. Because I know the of life better. I thought of a position that was one level higher than the of life. Reincarnation. If Jian Wushuang had mastered reincarnation, it would be exactly the same as Weiss said. God is not single, Jian Wushuang still has hope. This is the best proof. One sword reincarnation. From letting you live to letting you die. All under this sword. Qi Jiuxiao at the center of the vortex was completely trapped. Life and death, both turned into sword shadows, constantly revolving around Qi Jiuxiao frantically. No matter how Qi Jiuxiao destroys the attack, he can't break it open. After seeing this, Emperor Bobby was completely stunned. Not because Qi Jiuxiao was trapped, but he was surprised that Jian Wushuang had developed the power of reincarnation before he mastered the power of death. In fact, this power of reincarnation is not pure. Because Jian Wushuang's life force is too strong now, the death force condensed is the death force of the next day, and it is very weak. If you want to converge into the power of reincarnation, the power of the two must be unified. Simply put, it is the same power to fuse. If one party is strong, one party is weak. It will fail. If Jian Wushuang's power of death is as powerful as the power of life, the sword of reincarnation he used. Don't talk about Qi Jiuxiao. Even when God comes, you have to get down. But that is a long way. At least it cannot be resolved for now. Jian Wushuang, have you swallowed extinction? Bobby D asked incredulously. In his opinion, only by swallowing death can reincarnation be condensed. Jian Wushuang at this time didn't even have the effort to breathe. How can I explain this to Bobby D? With this sword, he forcibly increased his power. Had it not been for the strength of the source, he would have died of exhaustion long ago. Fortunately, Danbao's Shenghui Nebula has been shining on him so that he can persist until now. Danbao, how long do you need? He gritted his teeth and turned to look at Danbao. The other party is still gathering the source of life. But he was almost gone. This sword could not kill Qi Jiuxiao. He can only trap each other first. But Jian Wushuang, with limited abilities, had a hard time getting trapped. Benefactor, let him come. Dan Bao held the scepter, his expression indifferent, without a trace of fear. It seems that at this moment he really becomes the of life. Seeing the other party's calmness, Jian Wushuang naturally didn't want to hold on. However, it is possible to take the opportunity to truly condense the Samsara sword. See how valiant is. He raised his breath to control the two sword shadows and forcibly merged together. Valley the vortex also disappeared at this moment. Qi Jiuxiao also rushed outrageously. But this time he will not face the whirlpool. It is a real sword of reincarnation. The destruction of reincarnation in the whirlpool is just some debris. This is the real sword of reincarnation. The huge sword shadow faced Qi Jiuxiao directly. The mighty power can kill the 8 tribulations realm. Shenmue King and the old monk felt a little bit of fear. But Qi Jiuxiao raised his hand to block, trying to shake off the sword of reincarnation. Just like this, it shattered his arm. Qi Jiuxiao was taken aback for a moment. This was the first time that he was injured. Then he got serious. He directly held the reincarnation sword with both hands. The divine power exploded, and he forcibly stopped the samsara sword. There was a loud shout, shaking for 9 days. Those 7 tribulation realm powerhouses who were still on the way were suppressed. They looked sideways at Wanlu divine realm. The countless strong men in the 9 heavens and 10 earth also heard this roar. In the dark, several 8 tribulations realm came out, feeling the vibration from the ancient wood continent. I have already transmitted the voice message to King Shenmu, and the other party has never responded. It seems that something happened to Wanlu. Thanks Tusk, Wanlu has a lot of involvement. The old man has to go and have a look, this time in retreat for such a long time, just to go out for a stroll. King Yishao, do you go there in person? The most in 9 days. The base camp of the ancient moon gods. After feeling the shock from the ancient wood continent, the contemporary pope also walked out of the retreat. The pope of this generation is a woman. The face is not stunning. His face does not have the majesty of an emperor. But there is an unusual temperament. She slowly walked towards the top of Guyue Shinshan and looked at Gumu continent with her head up, with a trace of melancholy in her eyes. What you see? Not Wanlu. It is a terrifying existence, which is slowly growing. Who is it that is shrouded in Gumu continent? Pope Guyu shook his head and sighed, even she couldn't see through. She is the real master of the 8 tribulations realm universe. It is almost the invincible existence of Guyu time and space. Even she can't see through it. If an outsider knows it, it will definitely cause panic. The vibration in the 9 days has printed many old guys. Among the 10 places, the same is true. Ancient moon ruins. Hui Qing in the core land also felt that terrifying aura rising, and she felt uneasy in her heart. Hey, Brother Wushuang, I really shouldn't have been here. Hui Qing shook his head, playing with Buddhist beads in his hands. It can be seen that he is still not in the robbery realm. Still an emperor. Not only did it not grow, but it was also a lot weaker. The whole person is a little haggard. Guyu time and space, ranked another among the top 3 horror relics. Wuhua secret realm. One person here also noticed the matter of Gumu continent. He squinted his eyes and looked in the direction of Gumu continent, and there was also a trace of anxiety in his heart. Behind him, there was a man with a yellow robe and a high crown. While drinking heavily, he asked vaguely, "Old man of the world, after I retreat this time, is there anything new in the outside world, for example, which one of me is unparalleled? Brother, how is he? King of the world? If you let the Guyu time-space expert from the outside world know, I'm afraid you will be shocked. Which man with a yellow robe and high crown is actually called the old man of the world king? Hey, your little brother, it's not easy right now, and there has been a terrifying existence in Gumu continent. This terrifying existence is growing divinely, and it will be a threat to the entire Guyu time and space in the future. You kids should hurry up. Cultivate. We have to leave Guyu time and space after we finish our cultivation." Chapter 5904. The man with a yellow robe and high crown was stunned for a moment, frowned and said, "How terrifying is it? Has it been beaten in the 7 tribulations realm?" "Small. The structure is smaller. I am the realm king beyond the existence of the 9 tribulations. I say horror, you say how strong he will be." The realm king was a bit speechless, thinking that he had accepted a Tubao apprentice and didn't understand anything. And this apprentice is Wu Zhuo, who came from Qi Temple. From entering the ancient moon time and space, he was trapped in the Wuhua secret realm, and later came into contact with the realm king, and soon became the lord of the universe. In the spiritual time house built by the realm king, he even cultivated for 1,000,000 eras in one breath, and now he is almost the lord of the 5 tribulations realm universe. Except for Jian Wushuang, among the 10 people this time, the fastest practiced. And luck is 1 by 1. Although Jian Wushuang practiced faster. But what is the life in exchange? Wu Zhuo followed the Realm King, either practicing in retreat or going hunting with the Realm King, eating, drinking, and having fun. Played and played to the 5 Tribulations realm. Just blow it up. The last time you encountered a desolate beast of the 5 Tribulations level, you couldn't solve it, but I had to do it. Wu Zhuo had short hair and little knowledge, and he didn't take the Realm King as a matter at all. Thinking that the other party is a true spirit, or a powerful person who has fallen, the consciousness left behind. There is no fighting power. Although it was a master-disciple relationship, the two didn't have any pretensions. That's because I didn't give my full strength. The Realm King blushed, and he was very uncomfortable being exposed. For a while, all the powerhouses in Guyu time and space looked towards Gumu continent. There are also many strong men who have already begun to leave, wanting to go to Gumu continent to find out. But the breath that these people feel, not from Qi Jiuxiao, nor is it Jian Wushuang and others. It can even be said that he is not in Wanlu divine realm, but in the 16 kingdoms of grass. Within the territory of Vietnam, thousands of miles are uninhabited. There is no cultivator within hundreds of millions of miles. Become an empty city. There is stone country. After the ancestors of Shirgua were dispatched, there were few strong people in Shirgua. There is only one dying 7 Tribulations realm, which 7 Tribulations realm who was dying was completely dead now. Stepping on the body of the 7 Tribulations realm, a monster is constantly growing. Except for the daughter of the state-owned Yunji, the 16 nations are in town, none of them are spared. Jiejia, it's time to go to the secret realm. Because he can feel that there are countless eyes staring at him. They are all rushing to him, but it will take some time to arrive. Before leaving the 16 kingdoms of the grass, the monster withdrew a heavy shell. The appearance has also been completely renewed. Wanlu Divine Realm. Jian Wushuang's reincarnation sword once again blocked Qi Jiuxiao. However, because the follow-up origin couldn't keep up, it was finally taken over by Qi Jiuxiao steadily. The goal has been achieved, and Dan Bao will have the rest. Jian Wushuang, who retreated behind everyone, looked at Dan Bao. The bottom of my heart is also very curious how powerful the current Dan Bao will be. I also want to see what the power of God is like. The he saw was Weiss. At the beginning of the robbery, Weiss' hands were stunned to see him. If Dan Bao also had that ability, he could really walk sideways. Qi Jiuxiao strode out, claws with one hand and grabbed Dan Bao. Everyone flinched, waiting for Dan Bao's shot. Before the giant claw touched Dan Bao, it was blocked by a shield. That is a shield of green origin cohesion. He firmly took the claw. Retreat. Dan Bao waved his hand, his scepter pointed directly at Qi Jiuxiao. The other party actually took a half step back. But then he attacked again. The claws kept bombarding the shield. In the distance, Bobby jumped with anger. I thought Qi Jiuxiao was here and could solve everything. Unexpectedly, he was stopped by a young guy who was still stinking. Leave him alone and kill others. Bobby Emperor had to change his attention again. The current Qi Jiuxiao is enough to kill the others, but it will take some time. Qi Jiuxiao received the order without any hesitation, turning his head and rushing towards Jian Wushuang. This scared Jian Wushuang and quickly tried to hide. But at this time, Dan Bao's shield directly expanded. Wrap them all up. Qi Jiuxiao ran into the shield again. It can still be like this? Jian Wushuang raised his head and glanced at the shield. Can block Qi Jiuxiao's shield. Wouldn't it be invincible? The Lord of the 8 Tribulations realm came, and there was no way. The old monk was also very excited and said loudly, "Don't worry, the little Lord has mastered the path to becoming a god. As long as he enters the Wanlu divine realm again, he can truly step into the position of the gods." Blue was very happy to hear this. This time their Palunga tribe can truly exist forever. No need to rely on the shelter of others. Shenmu King and Hengmu Lord are a little bit embarrassed. The former is envious. The latter is fearful. Envy the other person to become a god. Why can't I be jealous of myself? Fortunately, both can get corresponding benefits. Although the Lord of Hengmu was jealous, he didn't think of becoming a god, and of course he didn't want to see others become gods. His original pursuit was the 9 Tribulations realm. With the treasure refined by Pill Treasure, he has a chance to become the 9 Tribulations realm. Now the treasure is gone, but it's not bad to find a position of a divine envoy. There is barely a loss. It's just a little bad mood. It's more uncomfortable to see others stronger than yourself. Especially Dan Bao, this little furry boy. Compared with the Lord of Hengmu, the pattern of the King of Shenmu is very big. The of life. That is the of life in Beishikong. The lives of the 9 great time and space are all under Dan Bao's jurisdiction. Even if he didn't do any divine envoy, he could still break away from the ancient moon religion by virtue of Dan Bao's relationship. Since leaving the door, you can also get the opportunity to resurrect. And chances are almost a certainty. He is still relatively happy. The most uncomfortable thing on the court is Bobby D, that he also pursues. But it is not a true god, but a demigod. Only master the secret of resurrection. No matter what the deity of life. With the law of resurrection, he can indirectly control all the robbery. Hasn't he become the master of the 9 great time and space? Damn it. Bobby Emperor gritted his teeth, but was helpless. He is currently behind. Even if he entered the God Ascension stairs of Wanlu Shenmu, he was still inferior to Danbao. But now that he has been placed on the stove, he has to go forward without any retreat. And this road is not something he can take if he wants to. Now the initiative is entirely in Danbao's hands. Everything is because of that treasure. The green ball on the scepter. Danbao looked down on the sentient beings and said calmly, "I don't want to fight, but I can't help myself. If this is the case, then enter Wanlu and step on the ladder of God." Chapter 5905. The old monk immediately took the lead and said loudly, "Okay, I am willing to follow my master forever." Shenmu King and Hengmu Lord also bowed quickly. Wu Li knelt down directly. Jian Wushuang shook his head, secretly saying that he is a family. He didn't show anything. Becoming a has nothing to do with him. He just wants to leave now. Dan Bao has the protection of so many people. He doesn't need him anymore. It's better to leave and find Wu Zhuo or Zhen Wu. He just wanted to take the opportunity to leave, but Wes inside his body stopped him again. You are the most stupid to leave at this time. To enter Wanlu, you do not need to do anything to witness the coming of a god. The most important thing is that you can get the blessing of God. This is very important. There will be some special treasures. How can it be wasted if you have such a good relationship with this little guy? Weiss' words made him stunned. God's blessing? There are also special treasures. He doesn't know this. But even Weiss said it was a special treasure. That should be precious. But lying to win, he really disdains to do this kind of thing. Besides, he has no shortage of treasures now. The divine power has Dongjun's bones, and he can still improve. If you need treasures, just do it yourself. What's the point of following others? If he has not yet become the Lord of the universe, he may do so under the pressure of extinction. But now he is already the Lord of the 6 Tribulations realm universe, there is no need to do this. He has a lot of time to do other things to improve his strength. No, I have my own way to go. Weiss' eyes were surprised, and he didn't try to dissuade him after another thought. He said indifferently, "I didn't expect you to be quite spine. In that case, do me a favor and go to the Willows and help me find something. After it's done, I will give you the first half of the Freedom Jigong. Freedom to work hard." Jian Wushuang's eyes widened, and he couldn't believe it and asked, "Isn't it going to break through the pagoda of 9 tribulations? How can I still give it away?" "Huh, I'm a god, nothing I can't do." Weiss grinned, covering his mouth. "Since you are all gods, why do you still need the treasures in the Willows?" This question really made Weiss stunned. After thinking for a moment, he said honestly, "It's not that I need that treasure, but that my cat needs it." After speaking, he lowered his hand to touch the purple kitten in his arms. "This is fine too?" He couldn't figure out what kind of Weiss was. Not only can the supreme rule be changed, but for a cat, he can go to Wanlu to find treasures. The purple kitten is very thin and has no breath on it, but he can be sure that the cat is not a god. It might really be an ordinary cat, but the skin is purple. And there is no hair yet. This cat is the first life purified from your universe. Helping it means helping yourself. If you want to say that, doesn't it mean that I have taken advantage of you? Although Jian Wushuang's mouth was a little hard, he felt joy in his heart when he heard that this cat was a life in his own universe. Although his own universe is completely played by Weiss. But the other party is a god, how to play is good for him. As for whether to go to Wanlu, he was still a little tangled. Turning his head and glanced at Dan Bao, from the innocent eyes of the other party, he seemed to see Hui Qing once. The two are very similar in personalities. Kind and simple. Nor is it combative. If such a person becomes a god, he can be considered more convinced. It's just that now that he enters Wanlu, let alone chance, he will be dragged down. The strongest who entered Wanlu now were the Seven Tribulations realm at their weakest. Counting Wu Li, the master of the universe in the Six Tribulations realm. He was barely second to last. Of course, with real combat power, he may be able to reach the top 10. But it can't control the battle. Maybe there is a big battle in there. What should I do then? Just when raising money, Bru came over. Benefactor, what are your plans for the current situation? When Blue came, he looked around. He felt that neither the Shenmu King nor the Hengmu Lord were good people. He was not at ease with the sudden appearance of the great monk. In the end, he came to Jian Wushuang and wanted to seek advice. This made Jian Wushuang very useful, and he made a decision right now. Must go in. Since others have given him such a face, it would be nice to go there. Even if you can't help much, it's okay to come up with an idea. Sometimes, strategy works better than strength. At the beginning, helping the true spirit and solving the Frosa was not relying on his strategy. Perhaps entering Wanlu is not about fighting and killing, but about humanity. Dan Bao's figure slowed down, and he also took the initiative to come to Jian Wushuang's side. When the others saw this, they also gathered around. Jian Wushuang swallowed, and after scanning a circle, he said, "Since Dan Bao can open Wanlu, let's go in." But what if Emperor Bobby keeps following? At present he still cares more about Bobby D. Although Dan Bao could block Qi Jiuxiao. But it's just a shield. It is not true combat power. There is always a bad feeling. It would be better to get rid of Bobby D, and then they enter Wanlu again. Don't worry, among the willows, it's not strength that decides everything. The Bobby Emperor, even if he brings people in, it's nothing. Anyway, they don't have the treasures to open the way to gods, and they won't be able to enter the willows. Hinder us. The old monk was most familiar with Wanlu, and immediately lifted the threat of Emperor Bobby. Jian Wushuang nodded, and then continued, "If that's the case, then go in, but make it clear in advance that since everyone is in the same boat, then you have to make an oath. This is good for everyone." "I agree." The Lord of Hengmu was the first to stand up. He was the first to take refuge, and he gave up his treasure. "Give it to Dan Bao. Just ask for a divine position." "I agree." Soon, the people led by King Shenmu began to order the oath to be taken. Now that there is no hope of becoming a god, Shenmu Wang only wants to master the secret method of resurrection. Reignite road repairs. This is what he needs most at the moment. On the old monk's side, he had made an oath early, so naturally there was no problem. Except for Wu Li, all the oaths were taken. Ahem, me too. Before Wu Li could speak, he was interrupted. Obviously everyone didn't take him seriously. The old monk hugged Wu Li carelessly and comforted, "Little old man, you are our lucky star. You don't need to take an oath, but the benefits are still there. I am most familiar with Wanlu. It can make you a treasure in the Seven Tribulations realm. After the little master succeeds, I will get one. Then I will become the Seven Tribulations realm. I will also arrange a priesthood for you." Chapter 5906. After saying this, the elders of the ancient wood school all cast envy eyes. Wu Li was even more excited. This time the holy meeting, the greatest winner. It is none other than him. From the Three Tribulations realm, all the way to the Six Tribulations realm. I recognized a relative. He is also a strong man at the peak of the 8 tribulations realm. Now on the list is a future of life. In the future he would have difficulty in death. Since everything is fine, then go in. Good. Everyone nodded. Dan Bao's eyes were tenacious, and he felt as if the sky had fallen to the people, and his tone was slightly low and said, "This time I'm relying on you all. Little things. It's okay. My own person." The difference from this side is that Bobby D is almost annoyed. It is clear that Qi Jiuxiao has broken everything, but the road to becoming a does not have his part. Secret technique of resurrection. Emperor Bobby gritted his teeth, his eyes full of fear. "I swear to the death, follow them, I don't believe it." It was just that his words did not cause Jian Wushuang's discomfort. Instead he regards Bobby D as heir. Dan Bao waved his scepter, and a map fell in front of them. The entrance to Wanlu is right there. Everyone looked at the red entrance along the map. Jian Wushuang was surprised. The infinite world? The entrance to Wanlu turned out to be in the infinite world. This is really surprising. After running a lap, it turned out to be where they came in. The Roman bottom of the infinite world. That is the blessed place where Wu Li retreats. Sky! Lord Hengmu almost stared out. The entrance of Wanlu Shenmu was right in front of his eyes, and it was missed. All of a sudden mixed feelings. At the same time extremely regretful. Finally fell into peace. Everything is destined. Although surprised, nothing is impossible. Set off. Dan Bao took the lead, and the green protective cover had been covering them all the time. Not afraid of being attacked by Qi Jiuxiao. Just go to the infinite world in such a mighty world. Don't talk about encountering a beast on the road, there is not even a beast. After leaving Wanlu Divine Realm, he entered the infinite world. Now those powerhouses from outside the 7 tribulations realm have just arrived here. It happened to meet Jian Wushuang and others head-on. The visitor is not an outsider. It is the refiner who is familiar with Jian Wushuang. After seeing each other, he also understood what these people meant. I explained it at will. The old monk meant that the more people, the better. Anyway, Wanlu Shenmu, how many people enter it is the same. Just don't confront them. Otherwise, it would be a trouble for these people to join Empress Bobby. Randomly explain the reason with Lianxing. These people are naturally willing. They have made oaths and will never betray. Dan Bao is also generous, directly pouring out the power of life, helping those 7 tribulations realms dispersal, and instantly restore to the peak. This scene convinced them even more. Resurrection is just around the corner. Just help these people regain their combat power. The serious lord, who followed them all the way to refine the stars, also arrived at this time. Thanks, Tusk, you really found it. The serious lord's expression sank. Then he set his eyes on Jian Wushuang's body. But when he saw the strong men behind Jian Wushuang clearly, his eyes almost fell to the ground. King Shenmu will not say anything. Everyone knows the power of the 8 tribulations realm. But there are still Knight Gray on the left, White Eyes on the right, and the Great Monk. 2 top powerhouses in the 8 tribulations realm, plus a pinnacle of the 8 tribulations realm. Among the 7 calamities that the Lord of Sirius fell, the strongest was the peak of the 7 calamities. There are only more than 20 people, and half of them are casual cultivators. Originally it was full of morale, but when seeing the strong men behind Jian Wushuang, they shrank their necks, not daring to step forward. The Lord of Sirius was left alone at the forefront. Jian Wushuang frowned and stood up. "Sirius, I heard you were looking for me?" There were some doubts in the voice, and the Great Monk and the Shenmu King also saw that the person who came was not good, and immediately took a step forward, and his eyes were rounded. Whoever dares to stand in front of them now is dead. No one can stop it. Qi Jiuxiao is here, but it doesn't work. A little Sirius dared to make trouble. Sirius couldn't speak for a moment. Don't know what to do. Look left and look again. It seems to be looking for a life-saving straw. At this moment, a stream of light struck in the distance. It is the leader of the Gumu school, Jinmen God. Seeing that the serious lord of the general door god seemed to have grasped the life-saving straw, he quickly pointed to the general door god and said, "It is him, he let us in to find Jian Wushuang." Jiang Min's teeth tickled, but he didn't care about it anymore. Because Bobby D also followed. "Serious, are you looking for death?" The general door flashed, and went directly to the side of Emperor Bobby. At this moment, the Lord of Sirius discovered that everyone else had a background. "He is nothing." Emperor Bobby didn't even look straight. He just wanted to follow Dan Bao and enter Wanlu with him. Seeing someone stopping in front of me, I was too lazy to recruit and waved at will. There is no need for Qi Jiuxiao to fight. The Soul Heaven Emperor single-handedly killed him in an instant. Grasping the Lord of Sirius by the neck with one hand, he directly knocked Sirius back into the prototype. I thought it was a Sirius. It turned out that it was a dog who was pinched and couldn't bark. "Let's go." Jian Wushuang shook his head and glanced at King Shenmu. Shenmu King's complexion was obviously a little uncomfortable. The head teacher of his Gumu school turned out to be an inner ghost. If there is nothing to do, you have to kill the other party. In fact, a Seven Tribulations realm is nothing at present. Can't control the battle. It's just a matter of face. Seeing Jian Wushuang and others continue to move towards the infinite world, Bobby D also took the initiative to keep up. As for the scattered robberies in the secret realm, they have been scattered for repair. Just stand there in a daze. Bobby D also knew that it was useless to have these Seven Tribulations realm. It is cumbersome to carry. This is the gap. Dan Bao didn't hesitate, so he took Lianxing and the others. The of life. All in all, Roman River. It took almost a quarter of an hour to arrive. But Jian Wushuang walked towards the Dragon God continent from here. It took hundreds of years. Struggled for a long time at the bottom of the Roman River, even shed blood. Fight all the way and fight. Back here now. I can't help but sigh from the bottom of my heart, thinking of those people and things when I first came in. When I looked back, only Wu Li was left. Most of the rest have fallen. Li Sheng's kind of luck is still good, and now I am afraid that all of them are out of the infinite world. There is a teleportation array in the outer assembly grounds to go out. There is also the Empress Fengchen. Although he can't enter Wanlu like them. But his life was saved. And the strength has been improved. It's the best ending. If you go further down, you will probably die. Chapter 5907. And these two people have slaughtered the Balunga tribe. It's enough to save face if you don't trouble them. I'll lead the way. Jian Wushuang took the initiative to dive, leading everyone directly into the familiar deep ditch. Seen from above is a deep groove. Standing below is a mountain range. Go retrograde in the turbulent water. Just an instant, I arrived at the original blessed land. What's different from the past is that today's blessed land has become an Colosseum. When they came here, there were barren beasts fighting. It's just that there is no familiar face from the beginning. Jian Wushuang when they left. The matter here spreads. King Gamyu and several Five Tribulations realm powerhouses fell here. This matter is also spreading evil. It is said that there are treasures in it. Attracted a lot of attention from the Five Tribulations realm. Have entered here one after another. Indispensable is a fight. When they arrived, there was already a deep layer of bones here. Click. Trample at will. Jian Wushuang looked up and glanced around, and said calmly, "Wu Li, it's up to you. Little things, I'll do it." Wu Li stepped forward, and the earth trembled. Those wild beasts still struggling here suddenly woke up. I also found Wu Li's breath. A breath of millions of supernatural powers. This breath directly frightened the many wild beasts in this place. It was the wood Dao Jian Qi on Wu Li's body that was too late to retreat, instantly cut into several pieces. This kind of thing must not wait for Dan Bao to do it. He is the one who wants to be the of life. Don't get your hands dirty. The people below must do it. Such as Wu Li. Jian Wushuang is not good either. Because he himself has mastered the power of life, he can't go on like that anymore. Wu Li is the most suitable. After cleaning up those trash fish, Jian Wushuang raised his hand to condense the breath, directly evaporating the river water in the surrounding area, and a powerful barrier blocked the drinking water from thousands of miles away. Dan Bao took the others and then stepped in. This is the place. Looking at the withered bones ahead, Dan Bao's eyes were gleaming. Sheng Hui. The scepter points directly to the core of the blessed land. A green breath suddenly opened up. The ancient breath erupted from it. The whole Roman river was trembling. The opening of Wanlu is at this moment. The green light burst through the stone wall, and the place exuding the ancient atmosphere is the entrance. In front of everyone, the ground also began to crack. Sanjie, as well as Jian Wushuang and Dan Bao, felt most clearly. In the cracks on the ground, the power of life exudes. This is what everyone is looking for. The source of life force. The real innate origin life universe. The entrance of Wanlu universe. It is also their ultimate goal. The road to God, the ladder of God. It's inside. Go! Dan Bao took the lead. Be the first to enter the crack. The others dared to hesitate and immediately followed in. Jian Wushuang is after the break. After everyone had entered, he looked back at the outside world. In the distant sea, red light appeared. Emperor Bobby has already arrived with Qi Jiuxiao. Looking at the crack again, he was in a daze. This time it was so unreal. Valley from entering the ancient moon time and space, to now. It seems to be a reincarnation. Entering the ancient moon time and space, I heard about the holy meeting and Wanlu. Enter now. This span is very long, but also very fast. Finally I went in. His figure flashed and followed. Go deep into the crack. Find the source of life. Where is a huge formation? The core of the formation is a tree root. The root of the tree is naturally the root of the willow sacred tree. From the bottom of the river to the formation. At least there are hundreds of millions of miles. Coupled with the depth of the Roman river. One can imagine how deep this place is. And the Wanlu divine realm is extremely far away from here. The roots of the sacred tree can spread to this point. When I look over the ancient wood continent, I can see any secret universe. Only one willow tree can be seen. This willow tree absorbs the origin of the entire ancient wood continent. It is also the origin of ancient wood continent. The reason why there is this continent is because of this willow tree. Enter the formation. After the people gathered, Dan Bao directly used the life force on the scepter to open the formation. At the moment when the formation was opened, Emperor Bobby also came here with people. Unfortunately, it was a little late. Did not catch up with the formation. But it is not inaccessible. Because of Dan Bao's hands-on, he was completely caught in the eyes of Bobby D. Life force. He has no shortage of this. After the formation disappeared, another formation came again. Bobby D also took people into the formation. Like Dan Bao, he used the power of life and also activated the formation. 90% of the strong on Gumu continent disappeared in an instant. This shocked the strong outsiders. Especially those who are close to Gumu continent. They are coming. Wanlu Shenmu. In other words, Wanlu universe. At the moment of entering the universe, everyone felt the warmth of life. This warmth envelopes their bodies. It makes people extremely comfortable. It's like being wrapped in a warm current. If you look at it from another angle, they will be surprised to find that is really wrapped up. Both Dan Bao and Jian Wushuang mastered the power of life. Sober is the fastest. When he opened his eyes, he was also taken aback by the scene in front of him. Dozens of vines are connected to each other, like blood vessels, crossing together. And these people are wrapped in a white transparent film, and their bodies are also immersed in a green liquid. Jian Wushuang first checked his divine power and found that there was no problem before he breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, his supernatural power is still rising rapidly. This green liquid is not a simple life force. It's the power of life. Before he knew it, he actually increased tens of thousands of supernatural powers. If all these liquids are absorbed, I'm afraid it can increase by 100,000. Before waking up, it is passive absorption. After waking up, taking the initiative to absorb, the speed is much faster. Coupled with his swallowing power, It was just a stick of incense, and all the green liquid was absorbed. More powerful than he expected. After absorbing, his supernatural power increased from 1 million to 100 and 150,000. Why didn't you absorb it? When I turned around, I saw Dan Bao had broken the film and was carrying the bag of green liquid in one hand. Dan Bao gave a wry smile and explained, I don't seem to be able to absorb it, and am not a fighting type of Belungia, so these life-divine powers are useless to me. That's a bit wasteful. He swallowed, indeed regretful. But his eyes were always staring at the green life-divine power of the bag in Dan Bao's hand. Since the benefactor can absorb it, let's take it. Dan Bao used to be rather dull, but his brain is bright. How can he not know what Jian Wushuang means? Chapter 5908. Since it's useless to you, give it to someone who is useful. Jian Wushuang pushed back a bit. Seeing Dan Bao being really polite, he was not polite. After receiving the bag of life divine power, it was absorbed in one fell swoop. The divine power exploded directly to an astonishing 1.2 million. Just entered the life universe of Wanlu Shenmu. Just gave them a step. He directly raised a full 200,000 divine power. Moreover, whether it is cultivating divine power or absorbing the treasures of divine power, the speed will be very fast here. Those strong men around you haven't awakened yet. It's okay anyway. He simply took out the remaining bones of Dongjun and began to absorb it with all his strength. With 1 million basic divine power, he added 200,000 divine power. And by the way, he absorbed the life divine power that Dan Bao didn't need, and only then increased so much. If it is a strong person with a base divine power of 2 million, it may only increase by less than 1,000. Like the Wood King and the Old Monk. These two 8 Tribulations realm peak powerhouses have more than 10 million divine powers, and the increased divine power is even less. But for Jian Wushuang and Wu Li, this is a good start. More than half of Dongjun's bones remained. Absorbed a full hour. If you're outside, it may take a day. Here, it saves 10 times the time. And his divine power also came to 1.5 million. The basic supernatural power is 150. In the super-eternally changed state, it is 3 million. It was already at the threshold of the 8 Tribulations realm. It's almost the same as which Soul Heaven Emperor. His realm was the lowest on the court. It's just the 6 Tribulations realm. But in terms of combat power, he definitely ranks in the top 5. The first is naturally the Old Monk, and then the Shenmu King. The rest are the 2 top powerhouses of the 8 Tribulations realm, Left Yehue and Right Eye White. That superpower is also over 8 million. The top of the 8 Tribulations realm. After that, it is the Master of Hingm. Threshold of the 8 Tribulations realm. About 3 million supernatural powers. 5 million is the normal strength of the 8 Tribulations realm. At present, his current basic divine power has reached 1.5 million and there is no pressure. If you have a treasure, you can force it to upgrade. The state of the 6 Tribulations realm might be able to raise the basic divine power to 2 million. Plus super eternal change. And the Origin Dojo. His combat power is probably comparable to the ordinary 8 Tribulations realm. That sword against Qi Jiuxiao was enough to prove it. When it really breaks out, the instant increase in combat power is immeasurable. Of course, at that time, it was still because of freedom. This is still Weiss' reward, which reminds him of the great effort of freedom. When strong is strong, when weak is encountered. He had seen this number in Broly's body a long time ago. As opponents continue to grow stronger, their own combat power will continue to soar. It seems that there is no end. It's terrifying. Feel free to work hard. Far stronger than he thought. It's just one thing that it's strong when it's strong. There is also the body style that ignores time and space in the Free Ji Gong. Valley time and space cannot be constrained. This is the secret method of God. Only God can create it. Previously it was just fur. He had that kind of outbreak. If you get the upper half. That's not taking off yet. Others entered Wanlu to resurrect. He is different. That cat must be fattened up. Completed Weiss explanation, and got the first half of the free effort. Going back to deal with extinction will be more certain. Ordinarily, now Fan Tianfeng is almost returning to Qishan Temple. I don't know what's going on. Just now. The old monk completely absorbed the divine power of life and regained consciousness. Then King Shenmu also regained consciousness. King Shenmu was stunned for a moment, and then he noticed that his divine power had improved, and there was a trace of joy on his face. Like Jian Wushuang, he felt that he had made a good start. Is this the inside of Wanlu Shenmu? He looked up at the green vines that were still dancing, and the space around it. Somewhat in a trance, the old monk opened his mouth and explained at this moment. This is indeed the universe of Wanlu Shenmu. Haven't you noticed that the flow of time here has become faster? What? Jian Wushuang was taken aback first. Then a trace of origin entered his origin universe. Corresponds to the time flow rate. The eyes are messy. The division of time is very complicated. But there is one point for reference. That is the time and space of the master space and time, and the time and space of one's own original universe. The time flow of the original universe is very fast, and the space is weaker than the main spacetime. The current velocity of Jian Wushuang's original universe is 10,000 times that of the outside world. Gravity is also 10,000 times. When the time of the original universe is cultivated to equal the flow rate of the main spacetime, it will be considered as complete time. But it's too far from that standard. At present, only on Tianqing Mountain, because of the existence of Weiss, the flow rate is the same as that of the outside world. Where the space is more stable. It is even more stable than the outside world. And the flow of time in Wanlu, under his test, turned out to be millions of times faster than the flow of time in his original universe. Plus 10,000 times the own universe. It is tens of billions of times that of the outside world. This is too far from the outside world. Even the universe of Wanlu Shenmu does not repair time and space. It shouldn't be so exaggerated. Don't be surprised. Wanli's time flow is fast because of the serious passing of life. In this era, the outside world may be an era change. If you still have some memories of the outside world, you must hurry up and try to help our Lord become the person of life early. Good. After the old monk finished speaking, he didn't forget to flatter Dan Bao. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang panicked a little. If you really want to be trapped here for an era, Qishan Temple will be over. Don't talk about an era. Even 10,000 years will not work. Dan Bao shook his head after listening, with a light in his eyes, and said, Not all. I can feel a force of time and space, which separates Wanli's universe by two layers, as if it corresponds to time and space are opposite, where the flow of time may be slow, but here is fast. It's my lord, I can feel it so far. The old monk raised his eyebrows at this time, and he became more excited as he said, It's opened. There are many ethnic groups on that continent. Of course, there are also your human races and dragon races. I have been there before. It is similar to the ancient Wood continent outside. There is nothing special. I have not stayed much. I have always been in God in the universe. The continent below is called the ancient world. Jian Wushuang's eyes changed drastically when he heard the word God. He rushed directly to the old monk and said in surprise, You said God? That's right. It's the time and space we are in now. How do you know? The old monk was also surprised. The name God is just called it in the Wanlu universe, and people outside will never know it. Chapter 5909. The Lord of Hengmu also regained consciousness. After hearing God, he said indifferently, God is no better than Huanggu. It's all occupied by the guy called Qianding. It's better to be comfortable in Huanggu. You mean ancient Buddha of thousand lights? The old monk said with disdain. When I was there, he was just a shit. Jian Wushuang listened carefully, but his heart was extremely shocked. It is best to have the same name. If it is the same place as the God where extinction is, that's it. How can you see the shadow of extinction wherever you go? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. Although he didn't want to believe it, he couldn't help asking, Old predecessor, In this heaven, is there a strong man called Extinction? Extinction? As soon as this remark came out, everyone was taken aback. The old monk's eyes flashed, and he shook his head and said, I haven't heard of it. I usually associate with some powerful people in the 8 tribulations realm. What is the strength of this extinction, you said? Maybe I was wrong. I once knew a friend called Nyeshing. He came from God. Jian Wushuang gave a wry smile and shook his head. But the doubts in my heart have not been lifted. He knows the true background of extinction. From the stars. And also brought Bobby D. This is what Bobby D said personally. But Emperor Bobby never said about God. And it was obvious that extinction had been to the 9th great space in the first place. Maybe I've been to Gumu continent. Even Wanlius universe. Moved God away from here. But now God is intact. Perhaps, the extinction from the outside world comes from the future. Future. Everything is possible. If there is a super existence. Master time and space alone. Not restricted by the supreme rule. It is possible to travel through the future. The extinction of the outside world is the future. And now God is what he used to be. The two are not related in time. But cause and effect are additive. Really interesting. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed. Take a look at Dan Bao. Perhaps Dan Bao is more suitable for extinction. Because it is the future of life. If it is destroyed, it is also to become a god. In other words, extinction is originally a god? Grim Reaper. This is the oldest position. Master Weiss, is there a place of death in the northern space-time today? He couldn't help asking Weiss. Now Weiss wants to ask him. Asking a question shouldn't be a problem. At this time, Weiss is drinking leisurely on the biggest secret in his original universe, Tianqing Mountain. After hearing this question, he answered without any haste, yes, simple and clear. Jian Wushuang's heart moved, and he became bolder and asked, Master Weiss, is the name of this of death called Nyeshing? I don't know, this little is not in my control. Little god? This left him speechless. The of death is a figure comparable to the of life. These are all little gods. Weiss' pendulum is also big. Master Weiss, I have always had doubts about the existence of time and space, or the power of true gods. Can they travel through time and space? Weiss straightened up this time. He was boring at first, seeing Jian Wushuang's so many doubts, and his sincere expression. He also opened the chattering box. First, this is not a true god, that is called a god. Second, it is possible to travel through time and space, but it cannot change time and space. In the priesthood, there is also the existence of time and space. He regularly cleans up some of the time and space. Otherwise, isn't this world messed up? Jian Wushuang was even more surprised this time. Unexpectedly, there will be unexpected receipts. At the same time, it also dispelled the previous plan to travel through time and space. This is a story. He now wants to figure out whether the here has anything to do with the Nyeshing said. In his opinion, this is the most important. And it's probably related. Because here is the universe of life. Extinction and devouring him is for the power of reincarnation. The limit of the power of life is the of life. Then the limit of the power of samsara is the who masters samsara. This is obviously a better position than the of death. If so, then he has reason to suspect that Daixing is the of death. When he traveled through time and space, what Morwa time and space met with him was not the extinction of the past, but the extinction of the universe. He deliberately left this layout in the heart demon, waiting for him to put it on. For this illusion, let him think that the extinction had been laid out in the past. Actually not. This is simply a trap of extinction. Coupled with him, he is the most promising to become the of life. Death is the of death. When he becomes the of life, I am afraid that the other party will show up. Then swallow him. Evolve to become the of reincarnation. He didn't understand God in the past. Think that extinction is for the power of reincarnation. But later, with the increase in knowledge, he found that even if he mastered the power of reincarnation, he might not be able to surpass the 9 tribulations realm. Now it seems, his speculation is correct. Extinction traveled through time privately, ransacking the future god, and then move to Morwa time and space. From when start the layout? Dan Bao was the power of all things at first. This is the same as the original Lord of all things. The Lord of all things fell behind. Miexing saw him through the future and cooperated with Qixin. Then there was something in Qixin Temple. Now he has reached Wanlu Shenmu. Everything has gathered to the position of God. It is not him that Miexing is staring at, but the of life. The purpose of looting the future God is to cultivate the Lord of all things in Morwo's time and space. God now. The high probability is where Dan Bao will be achieved. Perhaps this time he got rid of extinction. But Dan Bao couldn't run away. Just one more point. He can't figure it out. Why is the strength of extinction so pull the hips? When it's strong, it's terrible. But looking back now, extinction may be the top 8 tribulations realm. Because Dongjun's strength is not too strong. It may be to hide strength. This is just his guess. It might also be just like what Weiss said, just a little god. Seeing Jian Wushuang's sad face, Weiss opened his mouth and said, "Don't think too much about it. It's not that easy to travel through time and space. If it's your own time and space, you can travel freely and no one cares. If you dare to travel through the main time and space, it's a big sin. If you can report a person, I still have a reward." Real? Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Perhaps the appearance of Weiss has changed some of the future scenes. The position of the of life was originally his. But with the appearance of Weiss, it changed everything. In the end, the position of the of life became Dan Bao. Extinction is also exhausted. Of course. Weiss stood up, the scepter tapped the ground and said in a low voice, "The gods, after all, come from mortals. It is normal for some insurgents and thieves to become stronger. They have more control, sometimes they do not. Any bottom line, once found, I will personally obliterate it." Chapter 59:10. With this sentence, Jian Wushuang was relieved. If it is really an extinction plan, Weiss is the biggest trump card. With Wes here, he is absolutely fine. If the death is not for the of death, then he will die even worse. With his current combat power, extinction may not be an opponent. In addition, there are big men like old monks and Shenmu kings. Give 10 courage to exterminate life, he dare not come. No matter what, he won't lose. Miexing is really a of death, then he is finished. Weiss shot, he was relieved. If death is not a of death, it is even simpler. After the sense of threat was gone, he suddenly relaxed. By the way, he then inquired, "Master Weiss, the gods you mentioned are from mortals. Could it be that you are not a mortal?" "The gods come from mortals." He knows this. Dan Bao became the of life, and he was also promoted from a mortal. According to Weiss, is it possible that Weiss was born a god? You are right, I am born a god, and also a star in the starry sky. Weiss answered with a smile while covering his mouth. Jian Wushuang blinked, feeling confused. Celestial god, star god. God. He knew the true God, and he once thought he was the true God. Unfortunately, he later entered the primitive universe. It was discovered that there were still emperors. When the emperor arrives, there is a tribulation realm and there is a master of the universe. Now there are various gods. He is indeed a little dizzy. Simply leave it alone. As his strength grew stronger, the burden on him became smaller and smaller. Everything is so vulnerable to him at the moment. This is the benefit of being strong. Have confidence. Unlike the emperor, facing the coercion of extinction, he couldn't move. Can't do it without taking a breath. It's different now. In the state of extinction at the time, he couldn't hold a sword in front of him. Even if he is a late player, he is confident now. This time it is over if extinction has no contact with this place. He will set out to look for other people, or return to Qixin Temple alone to completely eradicate death. As for the 9 great time and space, slowly explore later. He still feels nostalgic for his hometown and the world. Although the people who are nostalgic for it are almost dead, but after returning home, there will be an inexplicable sense of security. Gumu continent is not his home. After all, there will be a sense of distance. Although in Guma continent, I also met a few more reliable people. But there is still not the kindness of hometown. Or that kind of accumulation. For example, when he met Shen Wuyang, he was the immortal. Or when you met Hui Qing, the other person was also a child. Just like Danbao. The same is entrusted for life. This kind of friendship is much stronger than that with Wu Li. Wu Li's kind of city residence is very deep, so the friendship is naturally shallow. Only this time, nothing went wrong. Otherwise, Wu Li must be killed. Fudged by the one of the Lord of Hengmu. He still remembered. Consciousness returns to the deity. At this time everyone awoke. The supernatural powers are slightly longer. The weak ones have obvious changes. For example, Wu Li. Now the divine power has reached 1.5 million. Valley. This is also thanks to his cheap father. Let his divine power grow so much. It is strange to say that a special being in the 8 tribulations realm, poking a black pill out of his body, is quite useful. Jian Wushuang could increase so much, but it all relied on Dongjun's bones. Afterwards, there was no treasure for him to swallow. He not only wants to improve his divine power. You also need to improve the source. It's just that I haven't had time to watch things about the chessboard. On the Guantian chessboard, there are still a lot of origins of the font size for him to devour. There are hundreds of sources. There are also handsome chess pieces. Each is comparable to the origin of the 8 tribulations realm. Origin. Suddenly, his inspiration flashed. If you put these origins into your own universe reincarnation, you might be able to refine a group of powerful servants. It's just reincarnation, and it needs more than the force of life. He can do it by refining a simple magic servant. But the reincarnation of the 8 tribulations realm, he couldn't condense. This method needs some time to improve. It's just that he doesn't have time to do it now. After going out, on the way back to Qishan Temple, he has a lot of time to study these. It is more important to explore Wanlu Shenmu first. Everyone follow me. This place should be somewhere in Wanlu. This is a test of the god of life. It must have been left by Lord Realm. There are better things waiting for us. With a wave of his hand, the monk led everyone along the vine. This space was indeed left by the Realm King. It's just that the intention is not to let them absorb those life-divine powers. Some things are always different from what you think. Just like Jian Wushuang. When he entered Guyu time and space, he would definitely not have thought that he would become the Lord of the Universe so quickly. Following the great monk, they soon came out of this space. Cut through a larger film and see the outside scene clearly. The god of Wanlu universe. The greenery is full of vitality. Everything is so wonderful. Let everyone's vitality beating, as if there are countless ants crawling and rolling on their hearts. At first, there was an uproarious and uncomfortable, and then that kind of hurriedly disappeared. Instead, there is a potential for life to stimulate. Everyone's eyes shook. Full of confidence. It feels completely cut off the lifelessness of the past. Everyone lives and lives. Inspired the second spring. The feeling here is better than the space just now. Cultivating here, Jian Wushuang felt that he could survive another catastrophe. Many people think so too. It feels really good here. It's not in vain. I think you can improve your strength by practicing here without the secret technique of resurrection. Shenmu Wang turned his head and glared at those people and said coldly, "Okay, can you be a little prosperous? Where is this going?" "You say yes, old monk." The great monk's face sank and he coughed dryly. "It doesn't seem to be God." After saying this, everyone was just stunned for a while, and then they went on to talk about the specialness of this place. Did not take the great monk seriously. But the monk was a little anxious. He has never been here. He had never been to the last place. Just guessing. But I haven't been here before, so I can't keep pushing it to the Realm King. In fact, this is where the Realm King prepared. It's just that the great monk doesn't know. The great monk thought for a while, and felt that the matter was still a bit serious. He knew the direction of the ladder of God. The original plan was to take Dan Bao directly to the stairs of becoming a god. But now it seems that it really exceeded his expectations. If it is the Realm King who is making arrangements, then it will be troublesome for him. Little lord, this place has exceeded my expectations. It is better to be careful, let's go ahead. The great monk came to Dan Bao, his eyes calm. Chapter 59:11. Dan Bao said calmly, "It's okay, that's it." Everyone is not in nostalgia, keeping up with Dan Bao's pace. Then walk towards the new world. The green grass seems to want people to step on 2 feet. Along the way they saw half a mess. Goodness covers everything. There is not even a barren beast. There are only beasts without consciousness. Flew for a full day. Comparing to the outside world may be the time of an epic. But this world has not changed in any way. If this is the case, that's fine. It can only be said that they have not yet gone out. But when Jian Wushuang saw the elk that had seen him several times, his eyes went cold. He was sure that this elk was exactly the same as the one he met half a day ago. The structure of life is the same. Dan Bao also noticed something was wrong, and his figure stopped. We are going in circles. Everyone was taken aback. One day is nothing to them. But Jian Wushuang always remembered the outside world, so he was very sensitive to the time of this place. Flew for such a long time. It is not a problem to cross Wanlu divine realm. Even the interior of Wanlu universe could be comparable to the entire Gomu continent. There shouldn't be any changes. And according to the old monk, he has never been here. Think of it as a secret place. Then they should have flown out long ago. The result is still not visible at a glance. Fortunately, many people were brought this time. There are any masters? Lianxing took the initiative to invite Ying and stood up. Dear friends, let me try. As soon as the voice fell, Lianxing took out hundreds of small flags and tossed them everywhere. 16-star flag. 72 underground palace. Now. The formula was spoken, and a broken voice sounded around. When I went to look again, the flag was gone. Lianxing's eyes were shocked and said in surprise, "This place is actually isolated from time and space." Jedi Tiantong. Everyone understands this. Suddenly panicked. If this is the case, it would be cut off from everything. It's impossible to want to go out. Jian Wushuang, Wu Li, and even the Lord of Hengmu have encountered this kind of thing. It is the entrance when you first came in. There they also met Jedi Tiantong. That time it was because of the roots of Wanlu. This time, the comparison is the same. Jedi Tiantong. Not unbreakable. Don't be deserted, everyone, there is no threat here, we can explore slowly. The Lord of Hengmu stood up and presided over the situation. But just after speaking this sentence, a call from the ancients shocked them. It was a shout that went straight into the sky. Definitely the most powerful alien beast. King Shenmu glared at the Lord of Hengmu and said angrily, "You crow's mouth, you know you can't rely on you." He cursed along with the old monk. 2 people who had already entered Wanlu Shenmu led the way. As a result, he did not recognize the way. I'm stuck now and don't say anything. There is also a threat approaching. After the howl, the earth began to tremble. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath. He knew it was not that simple. In the distant sky, a green boundary monument fell from the sky and hit the ground fiercely. The wailing also fell. Everyone was stunned when they looked at the boundary monument. Should it be smashed to death? I hope it's the same as I said. Jian Wushuang turned his head and leaked a smile at the 7 Tribulations realm powerhouse just now, and rushed towards the boundary monument in a flash. Everyone was not surprised. Because after Jian Wushuang's figure rushed out, there was no change in his figure on the spot. It just rushed out to a Dharmakaya. This is too simple for Jian Wushuang, who has infinite life force. He is also willing to take this risk, really threatening to exist. Then it's time for those people behind to be busy. He can't fight, run away first. Adventure is also number 1. The law body rushed out instantly and arrived in front of the huge stone stele. There is this green pattern on the top, and the traces left by some plants. Very old. The figure dropped, and he wanted to see if a barren beast had been smashed to death underneath. It turned out that there was nothing. Maybe I scared myself just now. After a careful inspection, there was nothing special and no clues. There is no danger. This is currently the case. Come here. He waved. Everyone dared to approach. Look around the steel 3 times to the left and 3 to the right. Just can't understand. This stone tablet seems to be nothing special. Don't be too arbitrary. Since it appeared in front of us, it must be directed at us. Since it doesn't move, then we won't move. You are really smart. Lian Xing said grimly, a living person has to consume dead objects. This is not cost-effective. Fellow Taoists, I don't want to take the initiative and let this fellow Danbao Taoist try. Agree. There is no way. You can only look at Danbao's. He is the protagonist. Jian Wushuang had to go back a little bit. Take the initiative to give up your position and reminded in a low voice. Don't worry, there are no hallways inside the steel. You have checked all the ones just now, so you can use your life origin to explore it. N. Danbao nodded, and you read www. Akanshu. Calm stepped forward and touched the steel with the scepter. This is the result, and there is still time to explore in the future. The stone steel cited trembling. In Shangfen, a kind of obscure characters appeared. Jian Wushuang frowned and looked up at the sky falling down. He knew this character. But the character doesn't recognize him. This is the language of the Palunga people. He has seen some of the same characters, but he doesn't understand the specific meaning. Among those present, only Blue and Danbao knew each other. Brew glanced roughly, with surprise in his eyes. Brother Brew, how about it? What did the above say? To be on the safe side, he didn't directly say that it was Palunga's language, but asked Brew in private. The above content actually allows me to collect a plant-like treasure. Bulis' answer made Jian Wushuang a sigh of relief. Collecting treasures is the easiest thing. As long as it's not the kind of perverted fighting. Otherwise, it will be desperate and escape. How tired. After Danbao finished reading it, after pondering for a while, he said about it. Collect Hericium arenaceus. No one will be able to leave here at least 3. That's it. Quite a few people had surprised eyes. There is nothing else but these. There is no reward, just for Hericium. After collecting, put in the stone tablet. It seems simple and straightforward. But there is one thing that Jian Wushuang and Danbao have noticed. This is indeed a test. Originally thought that according to what the old monk said, he entered among the willows, and he led the way to the stairs of God. It's fine now, the ladder is not found. I don't know whose pit I entered. They are all beginning to be tested. Chapter 59:12. Danbao explained to everyone about the appearance of the Hericium and the general breath. Only 3 are needed. It doesn't matter if you have more. Jian Wushuang was a little puzzled. It was really that simple. Why both Danbao and Bulu are so surprised. Look at their expressions. It seemed unusual. He even used the most stupid method to count the characters above, and then count the number of words the two said. They couldn't match it. Bulu also noticed his surprise, so he took the initiative to transmit his voice. Benefactor, there is one last sentence on this stone tablet. Danbao didn't say it. The more Hericium I collect, the more rewards he will get. Treasures are a kind of life fruit that can increase vitality. Thank you. Jian Wushuang sighed secretly. This is good for others, but nothing to him. He doesn't seem to need the fruit of life to increase vitality. In fact, it's nothing to say. Once Danbao becomes a god, he will be able to obtain the secret technique of resurrection. Life is useless. When the time comes, the outsiders will not stare at him anymore. But then Danbao's voice transmission made him stunned. After Bulu finished speaking, Danbao also explained the whole story. The vitality contained in the fruits of life obtained here can become eternal vitality. It's precious. This kind of vitality can even revive the source. Of course, you need to have the source of the original source to be able to recover the original source. 3 Hericium Edoda can exchange for a fruit of life. 30 are 10 fruits of life. After hearing this, Jian Wushuang was completely shocked. Resuscitate the source. Resurrect the strong. There are so many super origins in the middle of his Guantian chessboard. If it recovers one by one, it will be a large number of strong people. Thinking of this, his interest came. For others, this is a fair competition. Anyway, 3 Hericium mushrooms are enough. So they are not very positive. Just so procrastinate to collect. Dan Bao and Baloo didn't even need to take action. The old monk and Shenmue King helped them both solve it. This kind of fruit is just a special treasure for others. It's even more useless for those who don't have the origin of the Empress. Of course it can be sold as a mixed stone. Dan Bao has the origin of life. It is not necessary. After becoming a god, what do you want? The current fruit of life is a sesame seed. But for Jian Wushuang, this is a priceless treasure. When the body shape flew out of a stick of incense, I could no longer feel the breath of those people, and could only sense it according to cause and effect. He also felt relieved. Thousands of people in an instant. Run around. Look for Hericium. The deity is incarnate. The clone turned into thousands. Divide 100, 10, 1 more. It means searching for more than 10,000 Dharmakayas at the same time. In order to ensure sufficient thought power, he did not divide anymore. More than 10,000 clones. One can be found within 2 hours. This place is so big. I dare not say 10,000, but there is still hope for 1,000 Hericium. Doppelganger went to search for the Hericium arenaceus, while the deity was looking at the origin of the chess pieces on the Guantian chessboard. Under Tianqing Mountain. Guantian is on the chessboard. His figure appeared on the chessboard. Among the magnificent pieces, the has disappeared. He was swallowed up. Those who had recovered at the beginning were very poor in strength, and were killed by the extinction. He also swallowed a lot of the font size. More losses. There are not many left now. These have no follow-up effect. But handsome fonts can be of great use. And that's all. He has to choose carefully. The weakest point of Jiang's name is the 5 tribulations realm level. The strongest is around the 7 tribulations realm. The weakest of the handsome font is the peak of the 7 tribulations realm. The strongest is reaching the peak of the 8 tribulations realm. As for the 3 chess pieces of God's font, he can't see through at present. In the chess pieces of the 3 gods, the origin contained is almost comparable to that of time and space. But the distance from the origin of time and space in the Guantian chessboard is still a bit short. What did the teacher leave me for this chessboard? Jian Wushuang's deity fell into deep thought. The Guantian chessboard has many functions. For example, Jiangjia. But Jiangjia is useless now, because it has mastered the super-eternal change. He needs more powerful treasures in the follow-up. But the Guantian chessboard, he still can't fully grasp it. This chessboard does not seem to be a treasure. It's a decoration. Are these chess pieces a test for me? If this is the case, it can still make sense. His own origin, turned into a chess piece, fell on the chessboard. Play against many chess pieces. This can be regarded as the first true king's usage. But it's not for him. Watch the sky. Checkerboard. Literally, make a chessboard with the sky. The inner meaning is still related to the origin. He is now recovering the chess piece, and he doesn't know that it is as different as the teacher's original decision. At this time, he couldn't think of any good effects. It seems to be this way. Complex origin. Jian Wushuang shook his head, but there was a flash of light in his mind. The origin is complicated. The origin of the chess pieces is different for each one. This is like life and death. The two seem to be unable to merge. But there is also a reason for integration. And after fusion, it will become more powerful. This may be an opportunity. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed. Grab 2 chess pieces of the same size. You reading www.akanshu.com. Both are the origin of the peak of the 6 tribulations realm. 2 chess pieces turn into 2 origins. With soil. The 2 sources of mutual improvement. With soil, wood will flourish. With the origin of soil, the origin of wood will flourish. This is a truth. The 2 origins are not in the opposite direction, but are combined smoothly. After the combination, the strength of the source is increased by a notch. Reluctantly reached the threshold of the 7 tribulations realm. Perhaps, one-by-one recovery is not the maximization of benefits. If these sources are brought together, not only will I be more familiar with the source, but it will also be able to create a more powerful source to simulate future practice. Maybe this is the teacher's original intention. Jian Wushuang surprised teacher Xian Yi's long-term gaze. Of these origins, swallowing is the most stupid way. And it can only absorb and compare, but 2 or 3 layers. But if it is so integrated, it can immediately comprehend a kind of original usage. This simulation is like a practice. The help to him is the greatest. Moreover, the original chess pieces after fusion will be stronger after recovery. His eyes flickered. Start to classify these original chess pieces. Then merge. The first is the chess piece of the font size. Dozens of chess pieces of general size are mixed. For the origin of everything. As long as he condensed a source of all things at the pinnacle level of the 7 tribulations realm, it would be considered a success. It's a pity that he swallowed so many chess pieces at the beginning, and now it's a waste to think about it. Otherwise, the most perfect origin of everything can be condensed. Then with the tolerance of all things, it is the fastest to integrate the handsome pieces of chess. Chapter 59:13. It's also to blame that the original pattern was too small. No way, at that time, I was thinking of raising my strength to the top. Now that I sink my heart, I realize that the best way is always the one pointed out by the teacher. Fortunately, his life force can also be used to transform all things. He could condense the origin of everything in front of him. Then the restoration becomes complete immediately. The missing rules can be added by yourself. With his current strength and realm, have mastered the universe. It can all be said to be of the creation level. Make rules and create everything. The chess pieces of the size of the font, eventually the source goes to all things. The handsome chess pieces correspond to the ultimate of all things. Life is only one. This is what I saw in the Palace of Life. But it affects a lifetime. He already has the power of life. The power of death can be obtained by slaughtering life. He didn't think about reincarnation. The original space of oneself has been completed, now it is time to practice. The future time and space can be regarded as having a framework. Reincarnation in time and space. If in accordance with Weiss said, both life and death are small gods, then reincarnation is considered a second-level god. The third level is time and space reincarnation. What about the time and space cycle? Maybe I think too much. He shook his head. Extinction wants to devour the power of life, just for reincarnation. It is laying out the future. So grand. He is now the master of the universe in the 6 tribulations realm. Even the cycle of time and space has not been looked down upon. It's a bit arrogant. In fact, the road can be walked one by one. But before you reach the end, be prepared to turn in that direction. Plan ahead. He has done this kind of thing in the past. It's all up to you. Now there is the great Weiss. I should also ask for advice. The clone is looking for Horatium. His origin is to enter the manor of Weiss leisurely. The manor, which occupies a huge area, covers 1/10 of Tianqing Mountain. The facilities have not been properly organized. Weiss was having a great time playing. The spring of the spiritual spring that was fetched was turned into a well. The spring column became the fountain in the center of the manor. It is also extremely luxurious. He looked a little envious. This is also his original universe, but his master hasn't arranged anything. There is only one dilapidated windriding pavilion, which is much worse than that of Weiss Manor. Although he can be transformed directly, there is no spirituality in that way. Some pyrotechnic gas is lacking. He walked towards a lake where Wes often stayed, and saw Wes shaking the cat there. The purple-skinned cat is pitiful and thin. The first life in the universe was turned into a cat by Weiss. Jian Wushuang was also a little dumbfounded. Valley, Master Weiss. When he came to the lake, he was not polite. He found a place and sat down. After saying hello, he watched where Weiss was teasing the cat. Not in a hurry at all. The cat appeared in his universe, but he couldn't feel the breath of the cat. It's really strange. You didn't enter the Wanlu universe. Why do you still have time to come here? Weiss said casually while teasing the cat. Let's talk about anything. I am in a good mood now, and maybe I will tell you something very mysterious. Thing. This cat. Jian Wushuang did not go straight to the subject, but asked about the cat. He really didn't understand why Weiss had to make the first life in his original universe a cat. He is not a cat, he is the of destruction in the future. Wes picked up the purple skinny cat, put it in his hand, and then said, "You have to pay attention to your own words, he is very vengeful." God of destruction? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise, "What kind of is that?" God of destruction. He had heard of it for the first time. A cat becomes a god. It's not reliable how to listen. Even if Wes has the means to change the supreme rule, he can't make a cat into her at will. Now I told you that you don't understand, but there is one thing I can tell you. The person who destroyed God would be you, but I see your performance is getting worse and worse, and... The last sentence reached his lips, and Wes swallowed it back and said calmly, "I can only say that you will have a better position. Could it be that I will really become a in the future?" For a while, he forgot his purpose when he came, and he was very curious about his future. This is also inevitable. Everyone is curious about their future. Otherwise, how could there be so many fortune tellers in the ordinary? Speaking of which, Huiking's Zen machine can predict the future. He is the darling of time and the best practitioner of time and space. If there is a chance in the future, Huiqing has to make calculations for him. Don't think about this, let's talk about your business. Weiss knew he was coming, so he didn't say much. This time Jian Wushuang went straight to the subject and expressed his entanglement. After hearing this, Weiss covered his mouth and smiled. "You don't think much, you should actually think about the starry sky above your own universe, so that your thoughts will be even bigger." Really? He suddenly became excited. I knew that I must be the chosen one, how could it be bad? But then, Wes poured a basin of cold water down. "You really dare to think that there are indeed hierarchical divisions between gods, but this kind of division is fixed. If you want to become a stronger god, you need to improve as much as possible when you are mundane, and there is a pit for a carrot. The position you selected may not be empty, or don't be too greedy." After speaking, Weiss shook his head and said an example he saw. "It is the creator of this ancient moon time and space." "Which goddess?" "She used to walk a long way. The pattern is huge. But in the end it failed." Looking at the entire Guyu time and space, Jian Wushuang could find that there were many strange things. For example, the Wanlu Shinmu of Gumu continent. This is obviously a level of existence with the goddess. The goddess was able to leave this willow tree. There is also the secret realm of Wuhua. The things that exist there are also very special. It is a force of nothingness. Obviously similar to Wanlia's side. These powers are all within reach of the goddess. If it is blessing in one fell swoop, how can the power of mastery be average? One level higher than reincarnation. At the beginning, this goddess had a lot of power, and the ultimate goal to break through is virtual life, which is to copy another virtual starry sky with the starry sky as the center. Jian Wushuang's eyes rounded when he heard it. This is a lot higher than what time and space reincarnation he is considering now. If it is to create a starry sky by yourself, he has the courage. But confidence is hard to say. But the goddess dared to replicate the same starry sky in the original starry sky. Chapter 59:14. This is a bit exaggerated. To put it bluntly, it means picking peaches. If there is a master in this starry sky, would he forgive her? No wonder it will fall. Since you have a lot of courage, you want to fight, go the way of the goddess, I will collect the corpse for you at that time. Jian Wushuang shook his head solemnly and said firmly, "I don't want to go the way of others, I just want to go my own way." I didn't expect that the pattern of the goddess would be so big, and it would be a pity to fall. How can it be so easy to copy the starry sky and have the same two people and two similar flowers? Weiss shook his head slightly. There was still some regret in his eyes. The two flowers he is talking about here are actually two worlds. One flower, one world. People represent even more. This made him think of Jiang Shang again. Tianve and Jiang Shang are inextricably linked. This is a scourge to him. It's a pity to die. Otherwise, he will die in the opponent's hands sooner or later. The latter of becoming in Wanlu now. As well as the origin of life force, Dan Bao has mastered it. It also means that the goddess is over, and there is no possibility of turning over. This example gave him a severe blow. In the past, he himself didn't believe in breaking the 10,000 laws with one force and stepping on the words of the gods. Now that I have finished listening, I don't believe it anymore. His pressure is actually not that much. In fact, it's good to be the master of time and space. He could endure time and space without traveling to the future. In terms of the current north time and space, the three eternal existences at this level are equally invincible. God can't control it. Unless it's your own death, just like a goddess. As long as you don't die, you won't die. The one before him died. Kill the life and it's over. There is no pressure. Later, I found Teacher Xuanyi, and the master and disciple recognized each other. Perfect. It's just that the teacher has been investing in him, and there must be something that needs his help. He didn't want to disappoint. I don't want to regret it again at that time. That's why I give myself those pressures. Looking back, it seems, he still thinks more. The origin on your chessboard is enough for you to die. Anyway, it is not you who die in the end. As for your own origin, don't make too many adjustments. You are far from reaching the limit under the rules. After the 9 tribulations realm, it's not too late to make plans. Weiss finally reminded him. Use the Guantian chessboard to simulate the original force that you need to merge in the future. At least one chance of failure. Jian Wushuang gave a respectful bow. Then turned his head and left. Back down the mountain. Thinking about his future. First of all, it is time and space reincarnation. He first merged the origin of the chess pieces on the Guantian chessboard into a time and space cycle. Go ahead and make other plans. This is very difficult for him. The rest is just like Weiss said, and he'll talk about it later. Now is not the time for him to think about it. Can't follow in the footsteps of the goddess. The temperament of the font size is merged into the origin of all things, forming the power of all things. Later it will be transformed into the force of life. From everything to life. It needs to be integrated into one source. The chess pieces that happen to be handsome in size have their origins. This is a bit of a coincidence. Jian Wushuang's mind sank, and he immediately woke up, and his heart shook. Could it be that it was the instruction of Teacher Xianyi? I am afraid that Weiss knew Teacher Xianyi, but he just didn't admit it. He can guess like that. It can also be treated as if nothing happened. Even Wes has to conceal and use obscure things to order him. Perhaps it is for greater hiding. He was a little relaxed, but he instantly felt a surge of pressure. Still have to fight hard. How else can I meet the teacher? He didn't want the day when his master and disciple met each other. It would be a world-destroying scene. A little bit of time passed. In a blink of an eye, he has been here for a month. There are indeed a lot of Heritium. He found thousands of Dharma bodies. On the side of the deity, a new source of life has been integrated on the chessboard. Click. The moment the chess piece of life fell into the Guantian chessboard, it instantly turned into a green armor. On the chest of the battle armor, there is a circle on which the letter is written robbery. Replaced the original general armor. I thought there would be a handsome and godly armor in the follow-up. Unexpectedly, Jiejia appeared. He couldn't wait to summon Jiejia, and instantly his upper body, an increased vitality force burst out. Let his vitality increase 100 times. Not only, after putting on Jiejia, his divine power has also increased by a full 500,000. Directly reached 2 million. The increase is not the basic divine power. But he discovered that after wearing Jie armor, he can also perform super-eternal changes. In other words, the super-eternal change he is currently performing can soar to 4 million in supernatural power. It is already a conventional 8 tribulation realm combat power. This made him more interested in merging the origins of chess pieces. Now it is the Jiejia dominated by the life force. If there is another force of death condensed, the two merge to become the power of reincarnation. The increase is the stronger power of reincarnation. This is the third sword of his star catalog, which will have greater blessings. Divine power blessing is only basic. The most important thing is the blessing of the source. This is more important to him. The role of Guantian chessboard was finally explored by him. It's a pity that he doesn't know much about the power of death, otherwise his sword of reincarnation would not pull his hips so much, and would never be able to display its true power. It also needs him to find a breakthrough from extinction. In a blink of an eye, Daixing was originally staring at him, but now he is staring at Daixing. Take your time. Now he is not in a hurry. The Dharmakaya returned and gathered to the deity. Dan Bao had already notified him, and everyone had collected Horitium. He was left alone. 6,000 can be exchanged for 2,000 fruits of life. It's just that now his needs for the fruits of life are not so obvious, because he can't recover the pawns so early. Those chess pieces need to help him simulate his original endpoint. If he succeeds, he will recover, and everyone is happy. If it fails, that's it. He also needs to find other ways out. Of course, failing this kind of thing is thankless. He will definitely control the loss. Seeing that the situation is not right, he will stop, disrupt the order of the origin, and then recover. It's not a waste. He always felt that the 3 chess pieces with the size of God would be the origin of God. I don't know if the guess is right. If it is real, then he has to be more careful. If you lose one, you have to feel distressed. Step forward, shuttle. Soon he came to the steel. We said hello to Dan Bao and the others, and stepped forward to hand over the ditch head mushroom. I saw a lot of people with a lonely look on their faces. He knew that these people probably already knew that there were rewards. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.